Chapter 543. The Heavenly Tao. The primordial divine dragon never imagined that the heavenly Tao would come so quickly. Whatever he was afraid of, it would come. The primordial divine dragon was most afraid of encountering the heavenly Tao at this time. He wasn't a match for the heavenly Tao even at his peak, let alone now. Because of this, the primordial divine dragon didn't dare to hesitate, and immediately summoned Long Fu. Long Fu, I'll resist the heavenly Tao. You take Longao and leave this place. Remember, no matter what happens, don't let the heavenly Tao discover you. Otherwise, all our efforts will be in vain. Master, you're going to meet the heavenly Tao at this time. Before Long Fu could finish his words, the primordial divine dragon said, If I don't go, you and Longao won't be able to leave. Hurry up and leave. Without giving Long Fu a chance to speak, the primordial divine dragon used his strongest attack and forcefully opened the space, pushing Longao and the dragon seal space out. If it was the original primordial divine dragon, he might have been able to place Longao in a designated location. But now, the primordial divine dragon seemed unable to do so. He could barely open a space passage. As for where Longao would be sent to, no one knew. Even the primordial divine dragon didn't know. After sending Longao away, the primordial divine dragon immediately closed the passage. With a cold snort, the primordial divine dragon's figure disappeared. Above the 9 heavens, at the peak of the clouds, the primordial divine dragon and the heavenly Tao faced each other. The heavenly Tao smiled and said, Primordial divine dragon, you've hidden yourself well for so many years. But you still can't escape from my palm. In the 9 heavens, within the clouds, a huge face was filled with confidence. This was the heavenly Tao, the true number 1 expert in the world. It was also the super expert that killed Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon. Not putting the heavenly Tao in his eyes, the primordial divine dragon said with contempt, Heavenly Tao, if Long Tian and I hadn't failed to merge back then, we wouldn't have lost to you. We were only 1 step away. Ha ha ha, primordial divine dragon, you just said that no matter how strong you and Long Tian were, you still failed to merge successfully. You were only 1 step away. However, you still lost this step. Therefore, you will never be able to reach that step. Humph, although Long Tian and I can't take revenge, I've already found a successor. With his talent and potential, I believe that in less than 100 years, he'll be able to reach our level. At that time, once the fusion is complete, you'll definitely die. The more confident the primordial divine dragon appeared, the more uncertain the heavenly Tao became. No matter what he did, the one in front of him was the ancestor of the dragon clan, one of the most powerful divine beasts in the world. It was always better to be safe than sorry. What if the successor of the primordial divine dragon really fused together? Thinking of this, Tiandao's expression changed slightly, but he still smiled and said, Primordial divine dragon, do you think I will give you a chance? Before the primordial divine dragon could reply, the heavenly Tao continued, You have to remember that I am the true ruler of the martial heaven continent. No matter who it is, they all want to escape from my grasp. Back then, I was able to kill you and Long Tian. Then I can also kill your successor. Do you believe me? The primordial divine dragon disdainfully smiled. Tiandao, don't deceive yourself. Your good days have come to an end. Ha ha ha, primordial divine dragon, don't get carried away. No matter what happens to me in the future, you won't be able to see it. How could the heavenly Tao not know about the primordial divine dragon's situation? Let alone the heavenly Tao, just the other divine beasts could easily kill the current primordial divine dragon. So the heavenly Tao wasn't in a rush. It was like a cat catching a mouse. In truth, the heavenly Tao's giant face wasn't its true body. It was just a clone. Just think about it. If a clone was so powerful, then it was easy to imagine how terrifying the heavenly Tao's true body was. Tiandao, since things have already reached this point, let's be frank. Our enmity will be resolved sooner or later. Since that's the case, I'll settle it with you today. With just you? The heavenly Tao's face was filled with disdain. He didn't care about the primordial divine dragon at all. Primordial divine dragon, even when you and Long Tian were at your peak, you weren't a match for me. Now I'll give you a word of advice. Submit to me, and I can consider making you my mount. How about it? Fuck off. Who do you think you are? You want me to be your mount? Who do you think you are? I can clearly tell you that since ancient times, I've only had one companion, and that's Long Tian. You're not worthy, you're not worthy. Do you understand? Hearing that, the heavenly Tao's expression instantly turned cold. As the true number one expert of the martial heaven continent, he could be said to be the ruler of everyone's lives. No one dared to disobey him. Only in ancient times had a man and a dragon appeared to oppose him. I have no choice but to admit that you and Long Tian aren't afraid of death. Perhaps in the eyes of others, you really are heroes, but in my eyes, you're just two idiots. Primordial divine dragon, cut the crap. Hand over the dragon seal, and I'll spare your life. The dragon seal. Heavenly Tao, you'll never be able to obtain the dragon seal in this lifetime. You mean you don't plan on handing it over? Do you think I will? The heavenly Tao looked deeply at the primordial divine dragon and suddenly said, If you don't hand over the dragon seal, I'll slaughter the entire dragon race. Do you believe me or not? The heavenly Tao's words were very simple. It was a threat. No matter what, the primordial divine dragon was still the ancestor of the dragon race. He couldn't ignore the life and death of the dragon race. It was precisely because of this that the heavenly Tao was completely confident in using the dragon race as a bargaining chip to threaten the primordial divine dragon. He didn't believe the primordial divine dragon wouldn't compromise. However, the heavenly Tao's guess was wrong. The primordial divine dragon didn't mind. He smiled. Heavenly Tao, if you want to slaughter the dragon race, go ahead. I can only tell you one thing. In 100 years, you'll definitely die. With the help of the dragon seal, my successor will succeed in merging. At that time, he'll be able to kill you. Ha ha. Hearing the primordial divine dragon's words, the heavenly Tao's face turned extremely gloomy. He wasn't worried about the primordial divine dragon's successor. What he was truly worried about was the dragon seal. The heavenly Tao knew what the dragon seal represented 1,000,000 times better than anyone else. Once the primordial divine dragon's successor succeeded in merging with the dragon seal, the heavenly Tao would be in big trouble. Back then, the biggest reason why the heavenly Tao killed Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon was because of the dragon seal space. Otherwise, the heavenly Tao wouldn't have found trouble with Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon for no reason. Just as the heavenly Tao was about to continue threatening the primordial divine dragon, a shocking aura suddenly erupted from the primordial divine dragon. Sensing this aura, the heavenly Tao exclaimed, Divine Dragon Self-Destruction. Chapter 544. The Divine Dragon Self-Destructed. The heavenly Tao had never imagined that the primordial divine dragon would choose to self-destruct. Although the heavenly Tao was not afraid of the primordial divine dragon, the primordial divine dragon was still the ancestor of the dragon race and one of the strongest divine beasts in the world. Once the primordial divine dragon self-destructed, the power alone would be enough to destroy the world. Furthermore, this was the self-destruction of the current primordial divine dragon. If the original primordial divine dragon chose to self-destruct, it would be enough to shake the heavens and earth. However, even the heavenly Tao did not dare to be careless in the face of the primordial divine dragon's self-destruction. Cursing in its heart, the heavenly Tao wished it could crush the primordial divine dragon to death, but for the sake of the dragon seal, the heavenly Tao endured it. At this moment, the heavenly Tao was in an extreme pain. Not daring to stay any longer, just as the heavenly Tao was about to leave, the speed of the primordial divine dragon's self-destruction increased by 100 times. Before the heavenly Tao could leave, it was devoured by the power of the self-destruction. Primordial divine dragon, F***CKU. As the heavenly Tao, it actually cursed at this moment. What did this mean? The primordial divine dragon had chosen to self-destruct, and its power had disappeared. At this moment, the primordial divine dragon had truly fallen. Not only its body, but its soul as well. But before the primordial divine dragon died, it actually dragged someone down with it. At this moment, the heavenly Tao probably never expected it. With the heavenly Tao's clone destroyed, the heavenly Tao was furious to the extreme. At the peak of a certain mountain in the Tianwu continent, the entire mountain was connected to the Cloud Palace. It looked as if it was wrapped in clouds. It was magnificent. At the peak of the mountain stood a man. His white robes fluttered, and his long hair danced in the wind. The man gave off an illusory feeling, as if he had fused with the world. The heavenly Tao. This man was none other than the strongest martial artist in the world. He had truly stepped onto the peak of the martial path. Primordial divine dragon, you dare to destroy one of my clones? Humph. The heavenly Tao's expression was very ugly. After all, each clone was incomparably important. Perhaps others did not know, but the heavenly Tao was very confident that the strength of each clone was comparable to the primordial divine dragon, and even surpassed Long Tian. The strength of the clone was already so powerful. One could only imagine how terrifying the strength of the true heavenly axiom was. Primordial divine dragon, don't choose to self-detonate. You can get your revenge. I will find your successor and obtain the dragon seal. Ha ha ha, since I am the heavenly Tao, I am the ruler. No one will dare to defy me. Spirit domain of the 9 states. For 10 whole days, the beast tide trampled on the spirit realm of the 9 states. In just 10 short days, the population of the spirit realm of the 9 states had decreased by 2/5. What kind of concept was this? Everyone in the spirit realm of the 9 states was complaining about the 3 major forces, the Nether Mansion, the Ethereal Palace, and the third-rank Long family. The reason why they didn't curse the Imperial City was simple. The Imperial City had acted in time to save the spirit realm of the 9 states. Otherwise, the spirit realm of the 9 states would have suffered even greater losses. It was precisely because of this that the Imperial City's power had expanded by 300 times in just 10 days, directly suppressing the other 3 forces. The 3 forces had never expected this. Otherwise, they wouldn't have fallen behind the Imperial City. However, it was all too late. The Imperial City was the biggest winner in this beast tide. In other words, the Imperial City had become the true number 1 force in the spirit realm of the 9 states. The other 3 forces couldn't compete with the Imperial City. The 3 forces wanted to curse the Imperial City. Since it had already happened, they had to think of a way to solve it as soon as possible. Otherwise, the Imperial City's power would only increase. In the end, the Nether Mansion, the Ethereal Palace, and the third-rank Long family formed an alliance to resist the Imperial City. The alliance of the 3 major forces was something that had never happened before. If it was before the beast tide, the Imperial City might be afraid of the alliance of the 3 forces. But now, the Imperial City's power had increased by 200 times. It was precisely because of this that the Imperial City didn't fear the 3 forces. In the Imperial City, the alliance of the 3 forces was ready to act at any time. It was obvious that the Imperial City's power had skyrocketed. They wanted to completely dominate the spirit realm of the 9 states. How could the other 3 forces agree? In the Imperial City, Duan, he said anxiously. Father, the Nether Mansion, the Ethereal Palace, and the third-rank Long family have formed an alliance. If we don't act now, things will become very troublesome. Waving his hand, he said with a smile, Don't worry. The beast tide this time has increased the power of the Imperial City by 200 times. Now, more than 70% of the spirit realm of the 9 states belongs to the Imperial City. Even if the 3 forces form an alliance, it's not very likely that they will choose to fight against us. Father, I know. But the foundation of the 3 forces is right there. Don't worry. I know. The beast tide this time has indirectly helped the Imperial City. Father, what should we do next? Duan He's expression was still very serious. He was also very unwilling. No matter what, with the current power of the Imperial City, it wasn't difficult to dominate the spirit realm of the 9 states. But his father was still unwilling to act and wasted this opportunity. It's very simple. Continue to develop your forces. Later you will exaggerate the fact that the 3 major forces didn't manage to save the 9 prefectures in time. If there are no accidents, in less than a month's time, the 3 major forces will be isolated without us doing anything. A month? Could the Imperial City really do it? He didn't have the confidence. But since his father had said so, there was nothing he could do. He could only shrug helplessly and agree. Father, I don't know why, but I have a bad feeling. It seems that Longao isn't dead. Don't talk nonsense. Longao has died in the beast tide. Don't talk nonsense like this in the future. Duan Kai obviously seemed to be very afraid of Longao. But after thinking about it, he felt relieved. No matter what, Longao's counterattack was too terrifying. In just a year, he went from a trash and scarlet fire town to the master of the dragon sect. Not only that, Longao also severely damaged the 4 forces. Once? Twice? 3 times? It would be a lie to say that he wasn't afraid. He was very clear in his heart that if Longao did not die, with Longao's talent and potential, he believed that it would not be long before he could lead the dragon sect to counterattack the 4 major forces. At that time, would the 4 major forces still be able to suppress the dragon sect? Duan Kai also heaved a sigh of relief. No matter what, Longao was dead. Looking at his father's expression, he felt a little helpless. As the city lord of the Imperial City, he felt very sullen. After all, the Imperial City was one of the 4 forces that controlled the spirit realm of the 9 states. But now, they were afraid of an ordinary sect in the spirit realm. It was funny to say that Longao was a legend that couldn't be replicated. Chapter 545. Outer Sea. Far away from Jiuzhou, there was a boundless sea in the southernmost part of Jiuzhou. It was called the Outer Sea. It was said that there were countless islands in the Outer Sea. There were various clans and sects on the islands. Sea. The waves came one after another, rolling in and out. It could only be described with one word: surging waves. A ship that was more than 10 meters long and a few meters wide was floating in the sea. It looked like it would be overturned by the sea breeze and waves at any time. Brother, it must be the Yi clan and the Wang clan that attacked us this time. Long Qian was furious. There were only 2 people left on the ship. Other than Long Qian, there was only her brother, Longheng. Both of them were direct disciples of the Long clan on Cloud Island. Long Qian had an oval face, willowy eyebrows, big eyes, small mouth, high nose, and a perfect figure. She was called the most beautiful woman on Cloud Island and had countless suitors. As for Longheng, he was the genius of the Long clan and also the trash of the Long clan. The reason why Longheng was called a genius and also a piece of trash was very simple. It was because Longheng had reached the Martial Highness realm in just 20 years. However, for some unknown reason, no matter how hard Longheng tried, he was unable to break through to the Martial Highness realm. A genius was reduced to a trash. Longheng let out a deep sigh. Others might not know the reason, but he knew it very well. Forget it. Even if we were attacked, I believe the clan would not ask about it. Longheng's words revealed a deep sense of helplessness and sadness. If it was him 3 years ago, he believed that this would not happen. So what if he was the most talented genius? Brother, what's wrong with you? Are you going to give up too? How can I not give up? Longheng laughed self-deprecatingly and sighed helplessly. Others might not know, but don't you know? When I was going through the tribulation, I was struck by lightning. Since then, my cultivation could not improve. I was humiliated and ridiculed. But what can I do? Looking at her brother, Long Qian was furious, but she could not say anything. In the outer seas, regardless of which island it was, talent and potential mattered. No matter what you were in the past, if you couldn't do it now, then countless people would mock you and hate you while you were down. She couldn't accept it. She couldn't accept the endless humiliation and ridicule of her brother. No matter what, Her brother was not only the #1 genius of the clan, but also the #1 genius of the entire Cloud Island. Big brother, look, what's that? The depressed Long Qian looked at the boundless sea in the distance. Suddenly, she seemed to have seen something. It's a person. Let's go over quickly. Big brother, we don't have much time left. If we go back late, father will scold us again. Long Hun waved his hand, not giving Long Qian a chance to speak. Saving a life is more meritorious than building a 7-storied pagoda. Since we've seen him, we can't just leave him to die. Long Qian sighed deeply. She understood her elder brother very well. He was too soft-hearted. In the end, they had no choice but to speed up the boat. Soon, they arrived at their destination. There was a person floating on the sea. He seemed to be dead. With Long Heng's powerful strength, it was easy for him to save a person. Long Qian put Longao on the deck gently and said unhappily, Big brother, this person is obviously dead. Let's go quickly. We'll be late if we go back. Shut up. Long Qian seemed to be very surprised to be called by her elder brother. She pouted her little mouth. Although she was a martial saint, Long Hun was still her elder brother. Long Qian glared at Long Qian unhappily and went into the cabin to rest. Long Hun was left staring at the young man lying on the deck. No matter who you are, no matter how injured you are, I'm lucky to have met you. There was a secret in the Cloud Island's Long family that no one knew. Long Hun was not only a powerful martial saint, he was also an extremely rare alchemist. If the Long family knew that the trash that everyone ridiculed was actually an alchemist, what would they think? Long Hun took out 10 medicinal pills from his bosom and directly fed them to Longao regardless of the consequences. Then, he massaged Longao. After an unknown amount of time, Longao groaned and opened his eyelids with difficulty. Looking at the blue sky and white clouds in front of him and an unfamiliar face, Longao instantly knew what had happened. It seemed that he had escaped alive. As for who had saved him, there was no doubt that other than Long Fu, he could not think of anyone else who could save him. Although there was pain in his body and his injuries were extremely serious, it was not easy for him to recover in a short period of time. However, Longao knew that no matter what happened, his life was saved. Who are you? You're awake. It seems that your recovery ability is not bad. I'm Long Hun, from the Cloud Island's Long family. What's your name? In fact, Long Hun had already guessed that the young man he had saved was a martial artist. As for his strength, Long Hun could not sense it. However, in Long Heng's opinion, Longao's strength was definitely not that great. I'm Longao, from the 9 States Level 6 Long family. You're also from the Long family? Hearing that the other party was also from the Long family, Long Hun was obviously delighted. Nodding his head, Longao asked, Where is this place? My family is the Level 6 Long family. You don't know where this is? Then how did you get here? Shrugging his shoulders helplessly, Longao grimaced in pain. With Long Heng's help, he sat up and said helplessly, I was being chased and accidentally fell into the sea. Longao did not tell the other party the truth. No matter what, to the Cloud Island and the Long family, he was just a passerby. There was no need for him to bring trouble to his savior. Long Hun did not suspect anything, but he did not ask too much about the other party. This was because he knew what to ask and what not to ask. Brother Long, this is the outer sea. I'm out on a mission and will return to the Cloud Island later. If you don't mind, you can return to the Cloud Island with me. What do you think? How could Longao not know what Long Hun meant? Thinking about it, with his current injuries, it would be difficult for him to return to the 9 States alone. Since that was the case, he might as well return to the Cloud Island with the other party and recover from his injuries first. Nodding his head, Longao agreed. Sorry to disturb you. No, I don't agree. Big brother, I don't object to you saving him. However, if you bring him back to the family, I strongly object. Your current status is already very sensitive. If you bring a stranger back, you will definitely be laughed at. Chapter 546. Longao did not say a word. Qian'er, you are too presumptuous. Brother. Qian'er, if you continue to be like this, I will no longer have a sister like you. Long Qian'er was shocked. She did not expect that her brother would do this for a stranger. She did not dare to say anything more. However, Long Qian'er glared at Longao. Contempt was written all over her face. Longao smiled helplessly in his heart. Of course, he would not be calculative with such a young lady. Moreover, he had already guessed the relationship between the two of them. Just like that, Longao followed Longheng back to the Long family on Cloud Island. Along the way, Longao chatted with Longheng. Especially with Long Qian'er's occasional words, Longao roughly understood the situation on Cloud Island and Longheng's situation. After hearing about Longheng's treatment in the Long family, Longao sighed deeply again. This was because he realized that Longheng's situation was exactly the same as his. The only difference was that the reason why Longheng was reduced from a genius to a cripple was not because of any innate factors. Instead, it was because he was struck by lightning. As for why, Longao had not found out. After chatting along the way, Long Qian'er's attitude towards Longao had changed greatly. At the very least, she would call him Brother Longao. The outer sea was made up of countless islands. Cloud Island was an inconspicuous island among the countless islands in the outer sea. However, the forces on Cloud Island were not to be underestimated. Cloud Island was made up of three major families. They were the Class 4 Long family, Yi family, and Wang family. The three major families formed a tripartite balance of power. They kept each other in check. For so many years, they had lived in harmony. Brother Long, we are here. Looking at the small island that gradually appeared in front of them, Longao heaved a sigh of relief. After 4 days of rest, his injuries had improved slightly. However, it would still take a long time for him to fully recover. Longheng, I would like to ask, who is the most powerful clan among the three? How could Longheng not know about Longao's question? He was very surprised and didn't know why Longao would ask such a question. After all, in Longheng and Long Qian'er's heart, Longao was just a small warrior, even inferior to them. Brother Long, as far as I know, among the three great families on the Cloud Island, the strongest one is a world emperor. However, such experts are usually stationed in the great families and will not appear under normal circumstances. A world emperor? Longao was surprised to hear that the strongest warrior on the Cloud Island was a world emperor. This meant that the overall strength of the Cloud Island was very strong. However, the Cloud Island was only one of the countless islands in the outer sea. It was hard to imagine how terrifying the combined strength of the countless islands in the outer sea was. As the saying goes, there's always someone better out there. If he hadn't stumbled into the outer sea, Longao wouldn't have known that such a powerful place existed outside of the 9 prefectures. As they were talking, the boat reached the shore steadily. Longao, Longheng, and Long Qian'er left and walked towards the city on the Cloud Island. Look, the trash of the Long family is back. Little Li, you can never control your mouth. Be careful, trouble comes from your mouth. Humph, old Zhang, what are you afraid of? I'm telling the truth. Everyone on the Cloud Island knows that this trash has been stuck in the honorable realm for 3 years. Outside the Cloud City, a man who looked extremely wretched said unhappily. When he saw Longheng and the other two slowly walking over, he immediately shut his mouth. Although he looked strong just now, no matter what, Longheng's strength was there for all to see. A honorable could easily kill him with a casual move. Moreover, even if Longheng was trash of the Long family, the two of them couldn't be compared. It was simple. Even if Longheng killed him on the spot, no one would stand out and say that he was trash. It depended on the strength and status of the other party. Useless trash, you're just trash. If it wasn't for my father not allowing me to be impulsive, I would have killed you right now. Just as the three of them were about to enter the Cloud City, Long Qian'er suddenly said fiercely. The man was so scared that he almost peed in his pants. Longheng had a good temper, but Long Qian'er was famous for her fiery temper. Killing people was like child's play to her. As the honorable and the number one beauty of the Cloud Island, no one dared to provoke her. Looking at the three of them entering the Cloud City, Little Lee was so scared that he fell to the ground. It turned out that when Long Qian-er entered the Cloud City, she released a terrifying honorable aura. If it wasn't for Long Hung holding him back, he would have died. Little Lee, I told you just now, don't talk nonsense. Even if Long Hung is trash, it's not something you can say. Trouble comes from the mouth. I hope you can reflect on it. Otherwise, stepping into the Cloud City, Long Qian-er clenched her fists tightly and scolded. Look down on people. Brother, why did you hold me back? I really wanted to kill that bastard with a punch. Long Hung smiled and said helplessly. It's not like it's a day or two. You can kill one, but can you kill all of them? Brother, are you really not angry? So what if I'm angry? Long Heng's voice was filled with helplessness. No matter what, he was indeed called trash by the Cloud Island, a complete trash. Originally, he soared to the sky, but he did not make a breakthrough for 3 years and was surpassed by the younger generation. In fact, Long Hing and Long Qian-er knew that the reason why everyone hated Long Hung was simple. It was because Long Hung was too dazzling in the past. In just 20 years, he had become honorable. There were countless people in the Cloud Island, but who could achieve this? Because of this, Long Hung had become the target of everyone's attack. In this case, attacking Long Hung, even if it was just a verbal attack, would be the most satisfying. Ridiculing a genius of the past could satisfy one's heart. Longao, who had not spoken since the beginning, also understood this situation. However, from the beginning to the end, Longao did not say anything. Because he knew what Long Hung was thinking. At this moment, Long Hung was just like how he was in the past. It was simply a replica. Longao had decided that when his injuries were slightly better, he would help Long Hung to find out what was going on. He wanted to know why the thunder calamity could restrict the development of a super genius. This matter was too strange. For some reason, Longao felt that what happened to Long Hung was a little unusual. It did not seem to be as simple as it seemed. Longao did not say much about this. After all, even he was not sure about this matter. If he said it out, it would be hard for people to believe him. In a short while, the three of them had arrived at the gate of the Long family. As one of the 3 major families in the Cloud City, one had to admit that the Long family was indeed imposing. Chapter 547. Brother, every time I come back, I feel like killing someone. Longao sighed in his heart when he heard Long Qian-er's words. Of course, he knew why Long Qian-er was like this. It turned out that when they arrived, the 2 guards at the entrance of the Long family's house had a trace of mockery in their eyes. Perhaps because they were afraid of Long Heng's identity, the 2 guards did not say anything. They did not hide their disdain. Anyone could see it. Longao could, Long Qian-er could, and even Long Heng could see it. However, Long Heng seemed to turn a blind eye to them and treated them as air. Long Heng smiled and said, Brother Long, this is my family. If you don't mind, you can stay here for a while and recuperate. Thank you. This was the first time Longao stepped into the outer sea in Cloud Island. He was unfamiliar with everything. Longao had decided to stay for a few days. Long Hung was willing, but someone else was not. When the 3 of them were about to enter the Long family, Long Hung and Long Qian were not stopped. However, Longao was stopped by 2 guards. Are the 2 of you blind? Long Qian's fiery temper rose again. As the daughter of the Long family's head, not to mention her strength, her identity alone was not something that the 2 guards dared to provoke. Young miss, the head of the family has ordered us to look for him as soon as you come back. Not a moment of delay. Long Qian seemed to be surprised. She did not know why her father summoned her in such a hurry. She looked at her brother and asked, Brother, why do you think father is looking for me? Go, leave this to me. Long Qian took a deep look at her brother. She did not dare to hesitate when her father summoned her. She immediately turned and left. Soon, she disappeared without a trace. Longao is my friend. He is a disciple of the Long family. Longhung was the young master of the family. His father was the head of the family. However, he had to tell the two guards when he brought a friend back. This in itself showed Longheng's status in the family. Longao didn't say anything. No matter what, this was Longheng's family matter. As an outsider, he shouldn't interfere. Young master, forgive us for being presumptuous, but the patriarch has just passed down an order. No matter who it is, as long as they are not from the main family, they will have to be searched. I hope young master can understand. Before Longao could speak, the two guards had already taken a step forward and were about to search Longao. Suddenly, the two guards groaned. At this time, Longao's cold voice sounded. Longhung has already said that I am his friend. The two of you are just his watchdogs. If you don't want to die, shut your mouths. Otherwise, I will kill you right now. Longao's voice sounded like it came from hell, without a trace of emotion, causing the two guards to shiver. They wanted to say something, but in the end, they didn't say anything. Longhung seemed to be a little surprised, but he felt very comfortable. No matter what, these dogs were so respectful to him 3 years ago. But now, looking at the two of them disappearing, the two guards were furious. They were humiliated by an outsider. How could they have any face left? I have to report to the patriarch. What should we say? I have an idea. Follow me. After stepping into the Long family's house, Longao and Longhung walked towards a small path on the left. They stopped at a secluded courtyard. It wasn't shabby, nor was it luxurious. But Longao knew that as the young master of the Long family and a genius, Longhung wouldn't live in such a place. It was almost the same. The more similar Longheng's situation was to him, the better Longao felt for him. He didn't look down on him at all. Before Longhung could say anything, Longao said, I like it here. Longheng wasn't a fool. Of course, he knew what Longao meant. Follow me. The two of them entered the courtyard. Longheng immediately went into a room. After a while, he came out with a small bottle in his hand. He smiled and said, Brother Long, this is a healing pill that I refined. I don't know if it will work. An alchemist. Longao already knew that Longhung was an alchemist. If it was just an alchemist, it wouldn't be a big deal. But what was commendable was that Longhung wasn't just a strong martial artist, he was also an alchemist. The combination of these two showed Longheng's talent. After taking the pill, Longao swallowed it. His face changed slightly. The current Longao had great attainments in alchemy. Of course, he knew that the pill that Longhung refined wasn't of a low grade, but it seemed to have taken a detour. If Longhung could receive his guidance, he believed that Longhung would go even further on the path of alchemy. Longhung, are you willing to be my disciple? Longao's words instantly caused Longhung to be confused. Brother Long, are you okay? In Longheng's opinion, Longao's injuries had worsened and he had started to talk nonsense. After all, his strength was much higher than Longao's. Even if he wanted to be Longheng's disciple, it should be Longheng's disciple and not the other way round. Even if his cultivation hadn't improved in 3 years, he was still an honorable. Before Longhung could speak, Longao suddenly said something. Then, Longheng's face changed and he asked, Brother Long, are you really an alchemist? I don't need to lie to you. The pill that you just gave me is of a high grade, but I can tell you clearly that you have entered the wrong path in alchemy. If you don't correct it in time, you will be in trouble. It would be a lie if he said that he wasn't shocked. Brother Long, I won't hide it from you. I met a strange person in the past. He only taught me alchemy for 3 days. So, Longao waved his hand. He couldn't wait to ask Longhung to be his disciple. He had never been so excited in such a long time, but Longheng's talent and potential had deeply moved him. Longheng's talent in both alchemy and cultivation were top-notch. If he missed out on this opportunity, he would definitely regret it. I will give you some time to think about it. I am going to recuperate now. If you have made a decision, let me know. Looking at the figure that entered the room, Longheng was stunned. From the beginning to the end, he had never thought that the young man that he had saved was also an alchemist. Moreover, his alchemy skills were obviously higher than his own. Agree? Reject? Longheng seemed to be in a dilemma. No matter what, Longao was obviously younger than him. It would be a little embarrassing to ask someone younger to be his disciple. Bang! At this moment, the door was kicked open. Longheng didn't even need to turn around to know who it was. His face was filled with disgust. I heard that Xiaoxi is back. Let me see. I have missed him so much. Author's note. Let's start with 5 chapters. Everyone, please support me. Tip me. Come on. Xiao Jiu will completely explode today. Let's see how many people tip me today. Chapter 548. Long Ling was the grandson of the third elder, and Long Heng's cousin. There was no doubt that Long Heng's biggest enemy was Long Ling. Long Ling was talented and had broken through to the venerable realm at a young age. However, he had been suppressed by Long Heng, and could not appear in front of everyone. Fourth elder brother, why didn't you inform me that you were coming back? I could have picked you up. I don't need to trouble you. I'm a little tired. If you don't have anything else to do, please go ahead. Eviction order. Long Heng hated his 8th elder brother. Before Long Ling could speak, he had already ordered him to leave. Long Ling did not expect this and was stunned on the spot. 8th young master, he's not giving you face. 8th young master, don't talk nonsense with him. Beat him up. A dog relying on its master's power. Long Ling waved his hand and sneered. Long Heng, I came to look for you out of goodwill, but you ordered me to leave. It seems that you, go ahead. Long Heng didn't even give Long Ling a chance to speak before he asked her to leave again. This time, Long Ling felt that she had lost face. She had been asked to leave twice in a row. Even if the uncles could tolerate it, the aunties could not. Even if the customers could tolerate it, the prostitutes could not. Long Heng, I gave you face, but you don't want it. Who do you think you are? In my eyes, you will always be trash. Trash, do you know that? For so many years, Long Ling had been suppressed by Long Heng, and could not make a comeback. Since 3 years ago, Long Heng's cultivation had not improved and Long Ling had been looking for trouble. Long Ling's intention was simple. He wanted to trample on the super genius who had been suppressing him. Only then would he feel a sense of accomplishment. It was precisely because of this that Long Ling immediately put down everything and rushed over as soon as he knew that Long Heng had returned. He wanted to trample on the former genius as soon as possible. How could Long Heng not know what Long Ling was thinking? However, Long Heng did not want to cause trouble. No matter what, Long Ling's father was his uncle and the grandson of the third elder. No matter what the reason was, he did not want to be entangled with Long Ling. I won't see you out. Just as Long Heng was about to turn around and leave, Long Ling's face turned cold. Suddenly, he threw a punch at Long. From the beginning to the end, Long Heng had not expected Long Ling to attack him at this time. Due to his carelessness, Long Heng did not even have the chance to react. He was directly hit by Long Ling's fists. Long Heng spat out a mouthful of blood and his face turned pale. Fortunately, Long Heng's strength was above Long Ling's. Otherwise, Long Heng would have lost his life. Long Ling, you! Trash, shut up. Aren't you very arrogant? Without giving Long Heng a chance to speak, Long Ling continued. Long Heng, I've been waiting for this opportunity for 20 years. Let me tell you, even if I break your arms and legs right now, no one will say a word. Do you believe me? Long Heng's heart turned cold as he glared at his cousin in front of him. This is family? Were they still family? Long Heng did not doubt Long Ling's words. He was no longer the genius he was 3 years ago. No matter where he went, people would flatter him. Now, no matter where he went, there would only be ridicule, disdain, and even disdain. Because of this, Long Heng knew very well that if anything were to happen to him now, the family might not even care. In fact, under normal circumstances, with Long Heng's strength, he would be valued no matter where he went. However, Long Heng's starting point was too high. If he could not move forward, everyone would think that he was useless. Long Ling, you're courting death. Ha ha ha, Long Heng, do you really think that you're still the same person you were 3 years ago? Long Ling laughed loudly. At this moment, Long Ling did not put Long Heng in his eyes. He did not want to waste any more words. Long Ling's body had already rushed out. Every move was vicious and deadly. Long Ling did not hold back at all. He could not wait to kill Long Heng. Long Heng was severely injured. He endured the weakness in his body. But even so, Long Heng took every move carefully. The more he did so, the angrier Long Ling was. After all, he was not Long Heng's opponent. Long Heng did not use his full strength. In his heart, Long Heng always thought that even if you're heartless, I can't be heartless. Because of this, Long Heng was suppressed. If this continued, he would be smashed to death by Long Ling sooner or later. If you want to be a piece of trash forever, don't make a move. Hearing Long Ao's voice, Long Ling's body trembled. Long Heng's eyes suddenly turned cold. In his heart, he did not want to be a piece of trash forever. Moreover, Long Ling was suppressing him at this moment. Every move was vicious. If he was not careful, he would be killed by Long Ling. He treated Long Ling as a brother, but Long Ling treated him like trash. Thinking of this, Long Heng exploded. He seemed to have forgotten the pain in his body. He punched out with both fists. Although Long Heng and Long Ling were both peak honorables, the difference in their strength was huge. In just 10 moves, Long Ling was smashed to the ground by Long Heng. But in the end, Long Heng did not kill him. Long Heng, you piece of trash. If you dare to hurt me, I'll make you suffer. Long Heng, if you want to get out of this situation, you have to prove to yourself that you're not a piece of trash. Otherwise, you'll never be able to get out of this situation. Then, your cultivation will never be able to break through. Creak. The door was opened. Long Ao walked out slowly. There was no expression on his face. It was as if killing a person was a piece of cake. Long Ao was used to such situations. He seemed to be numb to it. Kid, who are you? Looking at the young man who suddenly appeared, Long Ling was sure that he did not know this person. But on Cloud Island, not to mention others, even the Yi family and the Wang family did not dare to offend the Long family. Who I am is none of your business. You're just a dog that bullies others. You're lucky that I won't kill you today. You! Slap. Before Long Ling could say anything, a slap landed on his face. Long Ling was completely stunned. He held his left cheek in disbelief. Long Ling did not expect that Long Heng would dare to slap him. He roared, Long Heng, I'm going to F*King kill you. Kill me? With a cold snort, Long Heng could no longer control the anger in his heart. He continuously slapped Long Ling's face with both hands. In just a few seconds, Long Heng's face was swollen like a pig's head. His subordinates were so scared that they almost wet their pants. Long Ling, listen to me. From today onwards you'd better not provoke me. Otherwise I'll take your life. Chapter 549. Get lost! Long Heng roared, scaring Long Ling so much that he did not dare to say anything more. He quickly ran away. Long Heng, I will find you for revenge. Just you wait. He did not take Long Ling's threat to heart. Long Heng sighed deeply and said helplessly, What did you do to me just now? Since you already know, I will not hide it from you. I just influenced your mind and made you decide something. It would be a lie to say that he was not shocked. Long Heng thought that his strength was not bad among his peers. However, he could not do anything when Long Ao influenced his mind. Long Heng did not continue to dwell on this issue. He asked, Long Ao, there is something that I am really puzzled about. I hope you can help me. Tell me. Long Ao's injuries were very serious. However, he endured it and found a place to sit down. Longao, I am very puzzled. Why do you want to take me as your disciple? Without waiting for Longao to reply, Longheng continued. Even if I am an alchemist with your eyesight, I don't think you will take a liking to me, right? So it was about this. Longao did not hide anything and said directly, Longheng, the reason why I want to take you as my disciple is very simple. I am interested in your talent. He picked up the teacup on the stone table and took a sip. He continued, There is no doubt about your cultivation talent. It is just that there is some reason that is limiting your cultivation level. However, I am more interested in your talent in alchemy. I would like to ask, what is your alchemist's rank now? Alchemists were extremely rare in Tianwu continent. It could be said that there was not even 1 in 10,000 alchemists. The ranks of alchemists were divided into Level 1 Alchemist, Level 2 Alchemist, Level 3 Alchemist, Level 4 Alchemist, Level 5 Alchemist, Level 6 Alchemist, Level 7 Alchemist, Level 8 Alchemist, and Level 9 Alchemist. Once an alchemist broke through to Level 9, there would be King Alchemist, Emperor Alchemist, Venerable Alchemist, Emperor Alchemist, and God Alchemist. Longao had always been confident in his talent in alchemy. In just over a year, he had officially become an Emperor Alchemist. What kind of concept was that? Emperor Alchemist. Emperor Alchemist? Longheng obviously knew the ranks of alchemists. When he heard this, he was shocked. There was not a single Emperor Alchemist on Cloud Island. There was not even a King Alchemist. Longheng found it hard to imagine. If the 3 great families of the Cloud Island knew that Longao was an Emperor-level alchemist, it would definitely cause a sensation. Worshipping an Emperor-grade alchemist as a master, such a temptation was hard to resist no matter who it was. However, Longheng was calm enough. The calmer he was, the more Longao admired him. Senior, I have one last question. If I follow you, will I be able to become an Emperor-grade alchemist in the future? Ha! Hearing this, Longao suddenly looked up to the sky and laughed. He laughed so hard that Longheng had no idea what was going on. Senior! From Longao to Longheng, it was clear that Longheng had changed. Suddenly, Longao turned around and asked, I will ask you one last time. Are you willing to be my disciple? Master, please accept a bow from your disciple. Longao did not hesitate at all. He seemed to like this disciple very much. After the apprenticeship ceremony, Longao immediately imparted the alchemy Tao that he had comprehended to Longheng. Ask me anything you don't understand. I will go and treat my injuries now. Thank you, Master. It would be a lie to say that he was not happy. In the room, inside the dragon seal space, as soon as Longao entered, he immediately asked impatiently, Longfu, Longheng really has a lightning physique? A large part of the reason why Longao insisted on taking Longheng as his disciple was because Longfu had told him that Longheng was not trash at all. Instead, he had a rare thunder and lightning physique. Although this physique was not as good as the desolate physique, it was still very powerful. It was precisely because of this that Longao listened to Longfu's words and took Longheng in as his first disciple. Master, Longheng does have a thunder physique. He has already passed the lightning tribulation. If he is taught well, he can be a good helper in the future. Longao nodded and did not continue to dwell on this issue. Since he had accepted Longheng as his disciple, he would teach him well. Longfu, did you save me? Yes. Longao originally wanted to ask, but in the end, he did not. Because according to the situation in the dragon seal space, it was impossible to kill tens of millions of spirit beasts. He had just sensed that there were tens of millions of spirit beasts' corpses and souls in the blood pool. Once the refining was successful, it meant that he would have a beast tide and corpse slaves. What kind of concept was that? Longao was looking forward to the appearance of the corpse slaves in the beast tide. At that time, the strength of the dragon sect would increase by 100 or even 1,000 times. It was also at that time that the dragon sect would have the capital to contend against the 4 major forces. Master, the reason why we were able to eliminate the beast tide was because of the old master. Before the old master disappeared, he left a trace of power in the dragon seal's space. That was why I was able to eliminate the beast tide. I see. Longao did not doubt Long Fu's words. In his opinion, if Long Fu did not have the help of the primordial divine dragon, it would be impossible for him to eliminate the beast tide with the current situation of the dragon seal space. As for Long Fu, he did not tell the truth to Longao, including the appearance of the heavenly Tao. In other words, the moment the divine dragon disappeared, he gave me and Long Chan a portion of power, right? That's right. Master, I hope that you can refine this power as soon as possible. This is the essence of the old master's life. It's different from an inheritance. Once you refine it, you can advance to a divine path warrior. Moreover, your cultivation speed will be even faster. Very surprised, Longao was pleasantly surprised. According to Long Fu, both he and Long Chang had obtained the power of the primordial divine dragon. Once they refined it, both he and Long Chang could advance to a divine path warrior. Moreover, there would be no inheritance restriction. Master, your injuries this time are not light. Unless it's a last resort, don't start a fight with others. Otherwise, if there are any sequelae, the consequences will be unimaginable. Nodding his head, how could Longao not know what Long Fu said? As if thinking of something, Longao suddenly asked, Long Fu, have you been to the outer sea before? Nodding his head, Long Fu said expressionlessly, I have. Back then, the two old masters brought me to the outer sea. It can be said that in the Tianwu continent, the outer sea is the most mysterious. It also has the most powerful warriors. Therefore, masters should be extremely careful. Longao also thought of this point. Because there were countless islands in the outer sea, a small cloud island was already so powerful. One could imagine how terrifying the entire outer sea was. Chapter 550. Longao sat quietly in the room, inhaling and exhaling qi as he quietly recuperated. Just as Long Fu had said, his injuries were too severe. It would not be easy for him to recover. While he was recuperating, Longao focused on comprehending the Chaos Stone Tablet. He hoped that he could comprehend the powerful martial skills in the Chaos Stone Tablet as soon as possible. 6 hours later. Longheng, come out if you have the guts. Longheng, you coward! Bang! The door was kicked open again. Longling walked in with a young man who looked to be in his 30s. Both of them looked furious and murderous. The helper that Longling had found this time was the third brother of the Long clan. He was also his elder brother, Long Fan. He was an advanced supreme being and was quite famous in the Long clan. Long Fan was different from Longling. He was extremely ruthless, especially when it came to his enemies. He would not show any mercy. This time, Longling had found Long Fan to teach Longheng a lesson. Otherwise, it would be hard for him to swallow his anger. Longheng, weren't you very strong just now? Why are you a coward now? Looking at the two people in front of him, Longheng's face was extremely gloomy. If it was Longling, he would have the confidence to win. But Long Fan, Longheng had no confidence at all. No matter what, the gap between a supreme being and a supreme being was too big. Fourth brother, you are too much. Third brother. Waving his hand, Long Fan snorted and said angrily, Look at how powerful you are now. How am I your third brother? You should be my fourth brother. They were here to pick a fight. How could Longheng not know the purpose of Long Fan and Longling's visit? As the saying goes, when you hit the small one, the big one will come out. Long Fan was obviously unhappy. He looked at Longheng arrogantly and said, Fourth brother, seeing that you and I are brothers, I will give you a chance this time. Longheng was very curious. He did not know what Long Fan meant. Fourth brother, as long as you kneel down and kowtow to admit your mistake, the grudge between you two will be written off, and I won't pursue it any further. What do you think? Long Fan relied on his Supreme Being's strength to not put Longheng in his eyes at all. In fact, Long Fan and Longling were the same. Both of them were jealous of Longheng in the past. But now, they wanted to step on him twice as much. Third brother. Longhung, are you even a martial artist? I really regret taking you in as a disciple. Third brother, what the hell? Longhung. Seeing his master walk out of the room, Longhung lowered his head in shame, but there was nothing he could do. After all, Longhung was very afraid of his third brother. His third brother was a martial saint, and he was only a martial saint. They were not on the same level. Longhung and Longao's circumstances were very similar. However, there was one thing that was completely different. Longao was much stronger than Longhung and had much more self-esteem. Longao also understood the disciple that he had just accepted very well. He sighed helplessly. Who are you? Third brother, it's this trash who instigated Longhung to beat me up. Third brother, you must avenge me. When enemies meet, their eyes turn red. Longhung had just escaped. Longling knew clearly that it was all thanks to this person in front of him. Otherwise, Longhung would not have dared to beat him up so easily even if he was given 10,000 guts. Who are you? Are you fourth brother's master? Long Fan was very surprised when he heard that the other party was fourth brother's master. He had to admit that Long Fan was much calmer than Long Ling. One should know that even if fourth brother was a trash, he was still a martial saint. Anyone who could become the master of a martial saint would know what kind of person he was. However, Long Fan could clearly sense that the other party's aura was not strong at all. He was even seriously injured. Because of this, he became more and more curious. Why would fourth brother want to be a disciple of such a trash? Trash-worshipping trash? Could it be that the combination of trash and trash was no longer trash? Third brother, this is my master, Longao. He is from the rank 6 Long family in the 9 continents. Rank 6 Long family? Ha 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 ha, fourth brother, you are making me laugh. Rank 6 Long family? Rank 6 Long family? Both Long Fan and Long Ling laughed crazily when they heard that Longao was from the rank 6 Long family. It was as if they had heard the funniest thing in the world. As everyone knew, the Long clan was divided into 9 levels. They were the level 9 Long clan, level 8 Long clan, level 7 Long clan, level 6 Long clan, level 5 Long clan, level 4 Long clan, level 3 Long clan, level 2 Long clan, and level 1 Long clan. Long family had a strict hierarchy. Cloud Island Long family was rank 4 Long family, which was much higher than rank 6 Long family. Therefore, when they heard that Longao was from the rank 6 Long family, they laughed and looked down on him. Third brother. Shut up, Longhung. I have already said that I am not your third brother. If you dare to call me that again, I will cut off your tongue. Ignoring Longhung, Long Fan snorted and said, So you are a rank 6 Long family expert. Sorry for the disrespect. Sir Longao, I would like to ask, since you are a disciple of the Long family in the 9 states, why did you come to my Cloud Island? Are you plotting something? Framing someone else. Regarding Long Fan's insidiousness, Longao naturally knew clearly, but he did not place the two people in his eyes. Shaking his head helplessly, Longao suddenly said, Mud cannot support a wall. I don't need such a disciple. Hearing this, Longhung was shocked. Without waiting for Longao to finish, Longhung immediately said, Master, I know what to do. Turning around abruptly, Longhung stared at the two people in front of him and said coldly, Since you do not treat me as a brother, forgive me for not seeing you out. Humph, Longhung, you are really shameless. Do you think that you can soar to the sky with a useless master? Let me tell you clearly, stop dreaming here. Third brother, why waste your breath on trash? Let's just cripple him. Later, we'll go look for father and the patriarch. Even if Longhung brought an outsider into the family with ill intentions, we'll see how Longhung dies. Longhung, I will give you one last chance. Kneel down and admit your mistake, and I will spare your life. Not taking Longao seriously, Long Fan stared coldly at Longhung. His aura had already suppressed Longhung. A martial honorable was like trash in front of a martial honorable. Not daring to be careless, Longheng immediately released his aura to resist Long Fan's suppression. However, there was no doubt that a martial honorable was not on the same level as a martial honorable. Just when Long Fan thought that he was going to win, a terrifying aura suddenly erupted from Long Heng's body, causing Long Fan to be startled. Impossible! Long Fan could not figure out how a martial honorable could have such a powerful aura. Chapter 551. Longheng, how dare you set me up? Shaking their heads in disdain, Longao and Long Heng's faces were filled with contempt. But at this moment, Long Fan suddenly attacked, not giving Longheng a chance. Once Longheng missed, he would be crippled even if he didn't die. Longheng had never expected that Long Fan would suddenly kill him. After all, Longheng was still a supremacy. Not to mention a sneak attack, he couldn't even win against Long Fan in a head-on battle. But to everyone's disbelief, Long Fan's sneak attack came quickly and left even faster. Long Fan's body landed heavily on the ground with a loud thud, accompanied by a miserable cry. You! Slap! 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 Before Long Ling could speak, he saw a blur in front of him. Then, the sound of slapping rang out. In just a few seconds, Long Ling was beaten to the point that even his mother couldn't recognize him. It was Longao who had just slapped him. What a joke! Longao was a true sage-to-be martial artist. Whether it was a supremacy or a supremacy, they were just a joke in front of him, even if Longao was severely injured. Longao, how dare you hit me? Long Fan struggled to stand up. His body was on the verge of collapsing. At this moment, he finally understood that Lin Fan was actually a supremacy. He was just pretending to be weak. Long Fan clenched his fists tightly at the thought of almost dying in Lin Fan's hands. He couldn't wait to tear Lin Fan into pieces. But in the end, Long Fan held himself back because he knew that Lin Fan was much stronger than him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been beaten up so carelessly. Longheng, from today onwards, we are no longer brothers. If you dare to cause trouble again, don't blame me for being ruthless. Ha ha, good, good. Longheng, don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have a useless master. I will let you know the price of doing so later. Let's go. Long Ling was the most miserable one. He was beaten up twice and didn't even look human. Fortunately, Longao and Longheng were merciful. Otherwise, Long Ling wouldn't be as simple as a pig's head. After the two of them left, Longheng immediately said anxiously, Master, I did not expect you to be so powerful. Longheng was no fool. Even though his master was severely injured, he still managed to defeat Long Fan without anyone noticing. Didn't that mean that his master had already broken through the Supreme Being realm and reached the Great Supreme Being realm? The nihility boundary was divided into 8 realms. From low to high, they were divided into Disaster Realm, Venerable Realm, Supreme Realm, Earth Venerable Realm, Empyrean Realm, Great Venerable Realm, World King Realm, and World Emperor Realm. Above the Sovereign Realm was the Earthly Venerable Realm. Could Master be an Earth Venerable Warrior? Perhaps his master was an Empyrean martial artist, or even a Great Empyrean martial artist. Longheng didn't dare imagine that his master would be a world king or world emperor. After all, the strongest person in the entire Long family was only a world emperor. If Longao told Longheng about the fact that he was a half-step sage, he wondered if Longheng would be scared silly. Longheng, let me tell you something. Regardless of whether you can do it or not, you must do it. Seeing how serious his master was, Longheng nodded his head. You are too indecisive and this will affect your cultivation. If you continue like this, you will never be able to attain the path of God. Path of God! Hearing his master's words, Longheng exclaimed. He seemed to have thought of something and immediately asked, Master, are you a path of God? Get lost. Longheng stuck out his tongue. Of course, he had heard of the legends of the path of God. As a martial artist who stood at the peak of martial arts, The path of God was undoubtedly a realm that all martial artists dreamed of attaining. Path of God. From the beginning, Longhung had never thought that he would be able to break through the path of God. His dream was simple, which was to reach the illusionary divine stage. However, everyone had ambitions, especially martial artists. No matter who it was, no one would not want to reach a higher level. Longao was no exception, and Longhung was no exception. Master, do I really have a chance of attaining the path of God in the future? Yes, you have the rare thunder physique. As long as you change yourself, the path of God is not a dream. It would be a lie to say that Longhung was not excited. At the thought of attaining the path of God, Longhung's blood seemed to boil. This was the most basic instinct of a martial artist to reach the peak of martial arts. Master, don't worry. I will definitely change myself. Longhung seemed to have thought of something and said worriedly. Master, you have just beaten up Long Fan. If nothing goes wrong, Long Fan will soon find someone to help him. Waving his hand, Longao could not be bothered to dwell on this matter. He said, Follow me. Longhung was helpless. He did not want to think of his master's terrifying strength. He could only quietly follow his master and leave the Long family for Yun City Bazaar. As the only big city on Yun Island, Yun City could be said to be extremely prosperous. Master, I have almost bought all the herbs that you wanted. What should we do next? Longhung was eager to try as he really liked the art of alchemy. If he could become a powerful emperor-level alchemist in his lifetime, he could die without regrets. Alchemy is not too late. Later, I will do my best to help you unlock the thunder physique. If nothing goes wrong, your cultivation speed will increase by at least 3 times. Hearing his master's words, Longhung swallowed his saliva hard. It was too ruthless. Longhung certainly knew what it meant to increase his cultivation speed by 3 times. Previously, his cultivation speed was already able to look down on the entire Yun Island. If it increased by 3 times, wouldn't he be able to look down on all the islands in the outer sea? Thinking about it made him very excited. However, Longhung did not seem to believe it. After all, Longhung did not know Longao very well. Longao did not care about what Longhung was thinking. Reality and time would prove everything. Hey, isn't that the genius Longhung from the Long family? I was wondering why my right eyelid kept twitching today. It turns out that I met a benefactor. Genius Longhung, wait for me, wait for me. Master, let's go. Longhung's face was filled with disgust. However, at this time, Wan Yifei had caught up and stopped the two of them. Genius Longhung, when did you become mute? This is a tragedy. Back then, you were the #1 genius of Yun Island. How did you become like this? You are so pitiful. How about this, you follow me in the future? I will definitely let you live a good life. How about it? Wan Yifei's eyes were filled with mockery. He was biting on a piece of straw. Chapter 552. Whose dog is this? Although Longhung had only followed Longao for less than a day, his personality had obviously changed. He was no longer the humble lad from before. Master, you don't know. This dog is called Wan Yifei. He is a good-for-nothing disciple of the Wang family. Other than doing bad things, he has never done anything good. Wan Yifei was dumbfounded when he heard the two of them scolding him. As a direct disciple of the Wang family, he had never been humiliated like this before. It was simply unbearable. Even if he could tolerate it, he couldn't tolerate it. Longhung, have you *King lost your mind today? Trash. Lad, who are you scolding? Longao laughed in disdain and replied, I will scold whoever replies. Longao and Longhung's teasing immediately caused waves of mocking laughter to come from all around, causing Wan Yifei to completely lose face. Longhung, seems like you have eaten a leopard's guts today. But it doesn't matter. As long as you dare to hit me once, I will admit that you are strong. Come, hit me. Wan Yifei and Longhung were sworn enemies. But on Cloud Island, it seemed that everyone disliked Longhung. After all, Longhung was the #1 genius of Cloud Valley 3 years ago. Ever since Longhung turned from a prodigy to a good-for-nothing, Wang Yifei had been looking for trouble all the time. His favorite trick was to beat him up. Wang Yifei knew that Longhung wouldn't dare to hit him. Otherwise, unless Wang Yifei was out of his mind. Grabbing Longhung's fist, Wang Yifei looked like he was going to hit his face. But in reality, he didn't use any strength. In the end, Wang Yifei was just pretending. He knew that Longhung wouldn't dare to hit him. Looking at this disciple of his, Longao was very depressed. However, he was not too anxious because he knew that things like character could not be changed in a short period of time. Boring. I thought that trash had changed today. Turns out he is still a piece of trash. Wang Yifei's men mocked Longhung crazily. The surrounding crowd shook their heads helplessly. Trash will always be trash. Longhung, let me tell you clearly, you are worse than trash in my eyes. And I almost forgot that you brought your master with you this time. I would like to see how good your master is. Letting go of Longao's hand, Wang Yifei grabbed Longao's right hand and pulled it towards his left cheek. As he pulled, he mocked. Hit me. F***ck, your disciple is trash. Even your master is trash. Come on, hit me, hit me. At this moment, Wang Yifei was as arrogant as he could be, causing sounds of contempt to come from all around. But Wang Yifei turned a blind eye to it. He still grabbed Longao's fist and pretended to smash it on his face. You really want me to hit you? Yes, hit me. Come on, hit me. Looking at his master, Longao seemed to have guessed what his master was going to do. He was shocked. Before Longhung could stop his master, Longao's right fist had already punched out. Along with the screams, Longao didn't care about anything else. He directly beat Wang Yifei left and right, punching him left and right. He didn't stop at all. In just a few minutes, Wang Yifei had been beaten beyond recognition. Even his mother couldn't recognize him. Seeing Longao beating Wang Yifei up, everyone, including Longhung, was dumbfounded. No one expected this young man to really hit Wang Yifei. He was simply courting death. Wang Yifei was the direct disciple of the Wang family. In Yun City, even the disciples of the other two big families wouldn't dare to offend the Wang family. This was because the Wang family had a trump card. Both the Yi family and the Long family were afraid of them. Ah! Screams were heard continuously, scaring everyone. Longhung swallowed his saliva and said helplessly, Master, you have beaten Wang Yifei up. The Wang family will definitely not let this go. We will be in trouble. Counter soldiers with arms, water with an earth weir. Longao didn't put the Wang family in his eyes. According to Longhung, the strongest among the three big families of Yun Island was the World Emperor. In Longao's eyes, World Emperors were nothing. Not to mention World Emperors, even sage-to-be martial artists wouldn't be put in Longao's eyes. Unless a saint came. Let me ask you, are there any saints on the Cloud Island? Longhung, you bastard! How dare you provoke me? I'll never let you off! Bastard! It was unknown whether Wang Yifei was seriously injured or he was so angry that he directly fainted. Seeing this situation, the four men immediately carried Wang Yifei away. Master, let's go back. Longao knew what Longhung was thinking. But things had already come to this point. Even if they wanted to avoid it, they couldn't. I have something to do. Follow me. Longhung sighed helplessly. No matter what, Wang Yifei was a direct disciple of the Wang family. Now that his master had beaten him up, the Wang family would definitely come looking for trouble. If it was 3 years ago, it wouldn't matter even if he offended the Wang family. But now, the situation was completely different. From a genius to a trash, his status in the Long family had plummeted. If the Wang family came looking for trouble, Longhung was sure that the family wouldn't cover for him. Talking about the family, Longhung slowly became sad. Longao found some herbs and then went to the restaurant. He ordered a table of dishes and wine and began to eat and drink with Longhung. Longao's intention was simple. He wanted to wait for the Wang family here because he didn't want to cause trouble for his disciple. The Wang family and the third-grade Long family were the three big families in Yun City. Longao could imagine that if the Wang family came looking for trouble, the Long family wouldn't interfere. Rather than that, he might as well wait for the Wang family here. Longao didn't want to cause trouble, but he wasn't afraid of it. He had always had a principle. If people didn't offend him, he wouldn't offend them. If people offended him, he would pay them back double. Longhun, since you are my disciple, I will teach you a cultivation skill and a martial technique. Remember, no matter who it is, you are not allowed to teach them. Do you understand? Longhun was overjoyed. He didn't even think about it, and immediately agreed. Master, don't worry. I will remember. Longao asked Long Fu for a stronger cultivation skill and taught Longhun the destruction seal. According to Long Fu, Longhun was born with a lightning body. Once he cultivated the destruction seal, it would be twice the result with half the effort. Because of this, Longao finally decided to teach the destruction seal to Longhun. Next, Longao prepared to concoct an elixir specially for Longhun. Once it was successful, Longhung's stagnant cultivation would be lifted. Chapter 553. At first, Longhun did not pay much attention to the destruction seal that Longao had imparted to him. At first, he was excited and thought that his master would impart him some powerful martial arts and skills. However, when Longao finished imparting the skills to him, Longhun was not satisfied. However, when Longhun tried to comprehend it, he was shocked to find that the martial arts and skills that his master had imparted to him were extremely powerful. Especially the destruction seal. Although he could only cultivate the first 4 seals with his current strength, the power of the first 4 seals was terrifying. Longhun took a deep breath and said, Master, the destruction seal that you have imparted to me is too powerful. I wonder if there are any that are weaker. When Longao heard Longhung's words, he spat out the wine that he had just drunk. Longhun, are you trying to trick me? I can tell you this. Once you cultivate the destruction seal to the great completion stage, even if you can't become invincible among the same level of martial artists, you can still run amok. Longhun nodded. He did not doubt Master's words at all. Master, you have misunderstood me. I can't just have one martial arts skill. If I were to spar with others, I would use the destruction seal immediately. What if I am not careful? Although Longhun did not finish his sentence, the meaning behind his words was clear. Longao was not a fool. He could tell what Longhun meant. He stared at him fiercely. Then, he randomly picked 2 martial arts skills and imparted them to Longhun. At this moment, there was a commotion outside. Longhung's face changed. However, Longao waved his hand and said, Sit down and don't move. Longhun did not dare to disobey his master. In a short while, 23 people rushed in. Among them was Wang Yifei, who had just been beaten black and blue. He hit the small one again, and the big one came. Seeing this situation, Longao seemed to be a little irritated. Brother, it's Longhun and that trash. They beat me up. Wang Quan stared at the young man beside Longhun. He came to the table and sat down. He asked coldly, Who are you? Why are you looking for trouble with the Wang family? I am looking for trouble with the Wang family? Seeing that the other party didn't think much of him, Wang Quan's heart skipped a beat. As the top genius of the Wang family, Wang Quan was not a reckless person. If not for the fact that his younger brother had been beaten up to the point that even his mother could not recognize him, Wang Quan would definitely not have come out. In fact, Wang Yifei had also embellished the story. The Wang family is really not as good as its reputation. Just now, many people were present. It was Wang Yifei who grabbed my fist and forced me to hit him. He even begged me to hit him. If you were me, what would you do? Left speechless by the other party's question, Wang Quan glared fiercely at his younger brother. He clearly knew what kind of person Yifei was, But seeing his own younger brother being beaten up like this, Wang Quan was still somewhat angry. As the saying goes, before you hit a dog, you have to look at its owner. Plus, this was the Cloud Island, the Wang clan's territory. Longheng, is this person your master? Exactly. Seeing that Longheng was neither servile nor overbearing, Wang Quan was even more surprised. This was because Longheng had been unable to break through to the Supreme Being realm 3 years ago, and had been unable to do so for 3 whole years. He had long been reduced to a prisoner, and no matter how much people mocked him, Longheng had to endure it. But now, Wang Quan knew clearly that the reason why Longheng was so confident was definitely not because of the Long family. It was because everyone knew that after Longheng turned from a genius to a good-for-nothing, he had fallen out of favor in the Long family. Could it be this person? Ever since he came in, Wang Quan could not see through this person. The more it was so, the more shocked Wang Quan was. Who are you? Longao of the 9 prefectures. You are from the Long family of the 9 prefectures? For some reason, Wang Quan seemed to be relieved when he heard that the other party was from the Long family of the 9 prefectures. This made Longao confused, and he did not know what Wang Quan was up to. Longheng, you brought outsiders to attack the Wang family without permission. You have to give me an explanation. Otherwise, I will report to the family and personally go to the Long family to ask for an explanation. Hearing this, Longheng's face turned even colder. However, Longao said, This is a grudge between me and the Wang family. It has nothing to do with the Long family. What a joke. I only have one thing to say. If you are unhappy, come and find me. I will accompany you. Before Wang Quan could speak, Longao said again, I wonder if you are going to fight or run now. Contempt. Longao did not put the other party in his eyes at all. Longheng could feel it, and so could Wang Quan. However, there was one person who could not see it. In Wang Yifei's opinion, his elder brother was a supreme warrior. If he wanted to kill the other party, it would be a piece of cake. Brother, don't talk nonsense with him. Kill him. Shut up. You can't do anything right. If there were no outsiders around, Wang Quan would have slapped his younger brother. You could have provoked anyone, but you had to provoke such a malefic person. With his strength, he could not see through the other party's strength. This was enough to explain the problem. Wang Yifei did not dare to take any action. However, Wang Yifei was confused by Wang Quan's scolding. He did not know what was going on. This time, he came to find his elder brother to take revenge. But what was the result? Brother. Get lost. With a slap, Wang Yifei's body was sent flying. Everyone in the Wang family was dumbfounded. They immediately carried Wang Yifei and ran away. Since you don't put the Wang family in your eyes, there is nothing more to say. I know that I am not your opponent, but you are too arrogant. What do you want? Set up an arena and fight to the death. Just you? Wang Quan did not care at all. Because he could see that the other party's cultivation had surpassed the supreme warrior. He had even broken through to the earthly venerable realm. Could he be a heavenly venerable, or a great venerable? Wang Quan set up an arena for 2 reasons. Firstly, he wanted to kill the other party. Secondly, he wanted to regain his face. He wanted to tell everyone in the Cloud Island that the dignity of the Wang family was inviolable. Otherwise, Wang Quan could report this matter to the Wang family. At that time, the Wang family would naturally send experts to intercept and kill the other party. You don't dare? It's not that I don't dare. I am not interested in an arena battle without a wager. Hearing this, Wang Quan's face froze. He knew clearly that ordinary treasures would not be able to move the other party. In that case, what should he use as a wager? Since you are in such a good mood, I will make the decision. As long as you can defeat Wang Hao, I will give you the Wang family's treasure, the Green Destiny Sword. But if you lose, you will have to kneel in front of the Wang family and count out 10,000 times. What do you think? Looking at the middle-aged man who suddenly appeared, Wang Quan stood up and bowed respectfully. Uncle. Chapter 554. Master, the Wang family patriarch is Wang Luo, a world king master. Longao indifferently nodded. Even though the Wang family patriarch was here, his expression was still indifferent. The more Longao acted like this, the more mysterious he seemed. Even Wang Luo was surprised. Was this person fearless? Longheng, will your Long family interfere in this matter? Wang Luo didn't fear this person. No matter what, this person came from the 9 provinces and was beyond his reach. Moreover, the Outer Sea Island was the Wang family's territory. Before Longheng could speak, Longao had already said, "The Long family will not interfere in this matter." Longao was well aware of the Long family's situation. If this were 3 years ago, with Longheng's status in the Long family would likely resist the Wang family. But now, Longheng had been reduced from a genius to trash. The Long family would absolutely not do anything. Longheng gratefully glanced at his master, and then said, "Whether or not the Long family interferes, I will stand by master's side. We will live and die together." If Longheng were to say such words in normal times, he would definitely provoke ridicule. But now, no one dared to laugh at him. "How about you? 6 hours from now, in the square arena, we will have a life-or-death battle." "All right." Watching the 2 Wang family patriarchs leave, before Longao could ask, Longheng said, "Master, the Wang Hao that Wang Luo spoke of is the true number 1 genius of the Wang family. He is only 34 years old and has already broken through to the peak Great Venerable realm. It is said that this person will reach the World King realm within a year." If so, then Longao knew that the Wang family's Wang Hao's talent was truly amazing. A peak Great Venerable at 34 years of age. Not to mention the Wang family, but even in the entire Sky Province, this was a top-level existence. Longheng's face was filled with worry. In his eyes, a peak Great Venerable was an unreachable existence. No matter how fierce his master was, he still wouldn't be a world king martial artist. With a deep sigh, Longheng said guiltily, "Master, I've implicated you this time. Otherwise, you wouldn't have provoked Wang Yifei and the Wang family. You wouldn't have fought with Wang Hao to the death. Master, I'm sorry." Looking at Longheng, who had a face full of guilt, Longao felt extremely pained. He said, "You don't have to worry about the duel between Wang Hao and I. Tell me, what is the origin of the Green Destiny Sword?" At the mention of the Green Destiny Sword, Longheng seemed a little surprised. He said, "Master, I never thought that the Wang clan would bring out the Green Destiny Sword in this battle of life and death." Longheng took a deep breath and said, "Master, legend has it that the old ancestor of the Wang clan obtained a divine sword by accident. With this sword, he was invincible in the outer sea. However, he was killed by a supreme Dao martial artist in the end. Since then, the Green Destiny Sword has become the Wang clan's heirloom. Longheng, do you want the Green Destiny Sword?" Longheng nodded and answered honestly, "Yes." Longheng was not a fool. Of course, he knew what his master meant by asking this. If he said that he did not want the Green Destiny Sword, even he would not believe it. After all, the legend of the Green Destiny Sword was there. "Master, you are injured. I have medicinal pills with me. They can temporarily suppress the injury." Longheng was very worried. However, since his master had already made his decision, he could not say anything. However, Longheng had already decided that regardless of whether his master won or lost, he would stand by his master's side without hesitation. They would live and die together. The moment the Wang clan left the restaurant, they immediately spread the news throughout the Cloud Island. The news that Longheng's master was going to fight the number 1 genius of the Wang clan, Wang Hao, to the death in an arena spread instantly. Everyone who heard the news was shocked. No one believed that someone would be so blind as to challenge the number 1 genius of the Wang clan. However, the number 1 genius of the Wang clan, Wang Hao, was not only talented, but also very strong. He was known as the number 1 genius of the younger generation of the Cloud Island. His cultivation had even reached peak Great Venerate. Everyone who heard the news started guessing who Long Heng's master was. However, when they thought about how Long Heng was a piece of trash, their master would definitely not be any better. Everyone seemed to lose a lot of interest in this battle. However, countless people wanted to see Wang Hao's battle, so they all rushed to the square. As for the Long clan, when the Long clan's patriarch, Long Bai, heard the news, his face instantly darkened. He went to find Long Ling and Long Fan and asked directly, "Have you seen Long Heng's master?" Long Bai loved his son as much as he loved him. 3 years ago, Long Heng had brought him glory. However, in the past 3 years, his son had made him lose face. Even so, Long Bai had never given up. However, in the end, he had always failed. A year ago, Long Bai had deliberately distanced himself from his son. It was not that he was willing to give up, but that he really could not face his son. "Uncle, this is what happened." Long Ling immediately told him everything that had happened. However, not only did Long Ling exaggerate, but he also inverted right and wrong. He described Longao as an unforgivable evil. After hearing this, Long Bai's face darkened even more. He immediately went to find Long Qianer and asked, "Qianer, where did this Longao come from?" Long Qianer had never seen her father like this before. She was shocked and did not dare to hide anything. She told her father everything that had happened at sea. The 6th grade Long clan. It seems that this person's strength is not higher than an earthly venerable. If that is the case, why did he accept the Wang clan's challenge? Strange. Long Bai could not figure it out. After all, he knew the background of the 6th grade Long clan very well. Under normal circumstances, the 6th grade Long clan did not have an earthly venerable. They did not even have a venerable, or a prime. If I'm not mistaken, this person should not be from the 6th grade Long clan. Who is he? Long Heng's master, Longao, had accepted Wang Hao's challenge. In just an hour, the square was filled with people waiting anxiously. In fact, everyone was waiting for Wang Hao. As for Longao, no one knew him. "Hao or kill this person for me." "Yes, father." Wang Hao was dressed in blue. His resolute face was full of vicissitudes. Everyone knew that Wang Hao was the #1 genius of the Wang clan. Not only was he extremely talented, he was also extraordinarily hardworking. He had gone out to train all year round. Because of this, everyone admired Wang Hao. They wanted to see how much this #1 person of Cloud Island had grown. Wang Hao's arrival at the square immediately caused a commotion. Countless girls shouted and praised their idol. Some girls even confessed on the spot. If they were not held back by their families, who knew what would have happened? A woman's charm was not scary. What was scary was a man's charm. Just as everyone was shouting for Wang Hao, a figure walked over from afar. Others might not know Longao, but they knew the #1 trash of Cloud Island, Long Heng. Chapter 555. He had long, fiery red hair and was dressed in black. Longao stood out like a sore thumb. "Look, isn't that Long Heng's master, Longao? Damn, he's so young. I don't think he's even 20 years old." "Really? He's not even 20 years old, but he wants to challenge Wang Hao? Is he out of his mind? Maybe he's really strong. Get lost. He's just a kid who's still wet behind the ears. How can he be so strong? If I'm not wrong, he won't even be able to withstand 3 moves from Wang Hao. In my opinion, he won't even be able to withstand 1 move." Long Heng wanted to punch each and every one of them when he heard the mockery and ridicule coming from all around, but Longao stopped him. "Calm down, Long Heng, I'll use the destruction seal later. Watch carefully." Long Heng was delighted. He was naturally looking forward to his master using the destruction seal. A short while later, Longao arrived at the center of the square and stepped onto the arena. "Who the hell are you? How dare you challenge young Master Wang Hao?" "That's right. Your disciple is trash, and your master is even more trash. Get down here and stop embarrassing yourself. Long Bai, who was watching the battle from afar, seemed to be used to this. Long Qian'er was about to charge up and seek justice for her brother. Qian'er, what are you doing? Father, didn't you hear? They're all mocking my brother. That's your brother's business. It has nothing to do with you. Stand there properly. Long Bai looked at the young man on the arena. For some reason, he seemed to be waiting for a surprise. This was his intuition. His intuition told him that the young man on the arena was not simple at all. You're Long Heng's master, Longao? That's right. You're the #1 genius of the Wang family, the #1 genius of the Cloud Island, Wang Hao? That's right. The two of them stopped talking and stared at each other. Longao had deliberately suppressed his cultivation to the peak of the great venerate realms so that he could conceal the destruction seal for Long Heng to comprehend. Everyone around the arena fell silent when they saw that the two of them had stopped talking. Although no one was optimistic about Longao, the battle was about to begin. Everyone still understood the basic respect. You're very powerful. If I'm not mistaken, you should also be a great venerable. You're not a simple person either. No one could hear the conversation between the two. But at this time, Wang Hao suddenly said, If I can't defeat you within 20 moves, it'll be my loss. 20 moves? Hearing that Wang Hao needed 20 moves to defeat his opponent, everyone was shocked. Those with quick reactions had already guessed that Wang Hao's opponent should be quite strong. Otherwise, Wang Hao wouldn't need to do this. If I can't defeat you within 10 moves, it'll be my loss. F***ck, motherfucker, how arrogant. Young Master Wang Hao, kill him! Just as Longao finished speaking, a wave of curses came from all around. Wang Hao said that he could defeat you in 20 moves because young Master Wang Hao had the ability to do so. F***ck, what ability do you have? 10 moves? No one knew just what gave Longao such confidence. But it had to be known that Wang Hao was a true peak great venerable. Unless one was a world king, no one dared to say that they could defeat young Master Wang Hao within 10 moves. This was simply nonsense. Below the arena stage, Long Heng clenched his fists as he looked at his master standing on the arena stage. He simply ignored the taunts coming from all around. At this time, Long Heng was nervous to the extreme. He simply didn't know what was going on with his master. Even a great venerable martial artist would be wounded, and those wounds were extremely heavy. If this was the case, then his master had already suffered a loss. Master, what is going on? On the arena stage, Wang Hao didn't show the least bit of disdain or ridicule as he heard Wang Hao's shameless boasting. Instead, his expression became even more dignified. This was because after all these years of adventuring outside, he could instinctively sense that this person was an extremely dangerous character. The more confident Wang Hao appeared, the more vigilant he was. Please. Longao had a very good impression of this Wang Hao in front of him. Whether they were friend or foe, just the word please was enough to prove just what sort of person Wang Hao was. Longao also said the word please. At this time, Longao and Wang Hao moved at the same time. In the blink of an eye, they were already engaged in a fierce battle. A single move turned into 100 moves. In other words, although it seemed as if the two of them had exchanged 100 moves, the truth was that they had only exchanged a single move. Victory and defeat were evenly matched. Enduring the waves of pain coming from his body, Longao clearly knew that he had to end this battle quickly. Otherwise, he would be in great trouble. First, his injuries were too severe. He couldn't fight for too long, otherwise his body would automatically explode. Long Fu had already warned him about this. Second, he was forcefully suppressing his cultivation. If his injuries were too severe and he suffered a backlash, he would be in great danger. It was because of this that Longao knew he had to end this battle as quickly as possible. Long Heng, watch carefully. Long Heng, watch carefully? Hearing the young man's sudden shout, everyone looked at Long Heng curiously. They didn't know what the young man wanted Long Heng to see. Could it be that he wanted to see how Long Hing would defeat Wang Hao in 10 moves? Until now, no one believed that Longao could defeat Wang Hao in 10 moves. They thought that this young man was out of his mind. Destruction Seal. Longao didn't intend to use the seal after the Destruction Seal. After all, with his current strength, he could only cultivate the first 4 seals. The first 4 seals of the Destruction Seal were the Soul-Suppressing Seal, Inferno Seal, Sky-Burying Seal, and Doomsday Seal. Longao couldn't figure out why the 5th seal didn't have a name when the first 4 seals had names. He had asked Long Fu this question before, but Long Fu's answer was simple. I don't know. This made Longao frustrated for a long time. The terrifying power of the seals was instantly unleashed. One seal after another, the 4 seals were unleashed simultaneously. Longao, I have to admit that you are very powerful. However, I will show you what the Supreme Sword Principle is. At this moment, a sword suddenly appeared in Wang Hao's hand. It was a divine sword that was emitting a beautiful light. Divine Sword Green Destiny? As expected, just as Longao had guessed, the divine sword in Wang Hao's hand was the Wang family's treasure, the divine sword Green Destiny. Countless people exclaimed when the green Hades appeared. After all, the Wang family's divine sword Green Destiny was too famous. Longao was doomed. The Trash's master was doomed. When Wang Hao took out the divine sword Longming, everyone had already sentenced Longao to death. And at this time, Wang Hao's eyes focused. Suddenly, a ray of light like the sun that illuminated the earth burst out from his body and directly integrated into the divine sword Xingming. Supreme Sword Principle, a martial skill that Wang Hao had comprehended after countless life and death experiences. Chapter 556. Longao could clearly feel just how terrifying his opponent's move was. Self-created martial skill, Supreme Sword Dao. Longao was well aware that only a self-created martial skill would be the most suitable for him. At the same time, self-created martial skills were also the most powerful. He didn't dare to be careless. He originally wanted to demonstrate the Annihilation Seal to Longheng, but Longao never imagined that he would see such a heaven-gifted genius on Cloud Island. Self-created martial skill, Heaven and Earth Morn. Self-created martial skill against self-created martial skill. Everyone was left dumbfounded. With himself as the center, Longao began to spin, instantly forming a giant tornado that seemed capable of sweeping through the world. And at this time, Wang Hao had already raised Blue Destiny Divine Sword high up in the air. This seemingly casual sword strike was actually a super martial skill that Wang Hao had spent 10 years to create. Blue Hades shot out a heaven-shaking sword light, ready to erupt at any moment. As for the tornado formed by Longao's spinning, it was ready to erupt at any moment. Move. At the same time, the two of them moved. Supreme Sword Dao! Heaven and Earth Morn! The two self-created martial skills fiercely collided. With a stuffy cough, Longao's body swayed, as if he would fall at any moment. But he forcefully withstood it. The tornado vanished. Longao stood where he was, safe and sound. As for Wang Hao, he also forcefully withstood it. You won. I didn't win and you didn't lose. We are tied. Longao wouldn't take advantage of his opponent. This was because he was well aware that if it weren't for the tornado covering him, he would have already lost. He couldn't help but admit that the Supreme Sword Dao that Wang Hao comprehended was far too formidable. If it were an ordinary great venerable martial artist, or even an early world king, if they weren't careful then they might have been cut down by this sword. Supreme Sword Dao was comparable to Heaven and Earth Morning. Both sides were tied. Everyone was dissatisfied with this result. This was because Wang Hao was the #1 master of Cloud Island. But now, he was tied with an outsider and also the master of Trash. Who could accept this result? Since you and I are tied, then the grudges between you and the Wang family can be written off. You are very good. I believe that you didn't use your full strength just now. I look forward to the time when we can truly fight. Same to you. I also look forward to it. Longao didn't speak any more nonsense. He turned and quickly left with Long Hing. Wang Hao, who was standing on top of the thunderbolt, seemed very curious. He muttered to himself. Could he be one too? Looking at Longao and his son who had already left, Long Bai smiled meaningfully. This made Long Qian'er very curious. She asked, Father, what are you smiling about? It's fine. If nothing unexpected happens, your big brother will rise up very soon. Hearing her father's words, Long Qian'er was curious. She didn't know what was going on with her father. Was her big brother starting to get lucky? Longao didn't choose to return to the Long family. With his fastest speed, he brought Long Hung away from everyone and found a shabby inn to stay for the time being. Before Long Hung could ask, Longao said, I will look for you later. Remember, don't run around for the next 2 days. My injuries have worsened and I need to recover as soon as possible. Master, do you need my help? No need. Without speaking any more nonsense, Longao immediately entered his room and sat down on the floor. As he said, Longao's injuries had worsened. This was because from start to finish, he never imagined that he would encounter such a heaven-gifted genius at this time. Moreover, this genius had created his own supreme sword Dao. Longao knew very well that if he was at his peak, he wouldn't be afraid of Wang Hao at all. Even if he created his own martial technique, he believed that his supreme sword Dao wouldn't be a match for heaven and earth's sorrow. However, the problem now was that his injuries were very serious. Moreover, he had forcefully suppressed his realm at the beginning. As a result, heaven and earth's sorrow wasn't even 1/3 of its usual power. It was obvious that heaven and earth's sorrow wouldn't be able to withstand the supreme sword Dao. Moreover, Longao hadn't merged with the aura of heaven and earth. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in such a state. Not daring to hesitate, Longao immediately began to recuperate. He circulated the 9 revolutions reincarnation technique and used the power of yin and yang to form a cycle in his body. Ever since the 9 revolutions reincarnation technique broke through to the 2nd revolution, Longao discovered a magical effect. No matter how serious his injuries were, as long as he circulated the 9 revolutions reincarnation technique, he could recover in the shortest time possible. This time, his injuries were more serious. Longao roughly calculated that even with the help of the 9 revolutions reincarnation technique, he would need at least 10 days or even longer to recover. Inside the dragon seal space. Long Fu, what did you just say? Wang Hao is a rebirth realm martial artist. Nodding, Long Fu said, Master, I've already sensed it. This Wang Hao is indeed a rebirth realm martial artist. Moreover, he has already awakened his consciousness. Therefore, his cultivation speed is 10 times faster than ordinary geniuses. Even the supreme sword Dao he uses is integrated with the martial techniques of his previous life. 10 times faster? Longao was shocked. However, after thinking about it, he felt that it was acceptable. After all, a rebirth realm martial artist had to risk being obliterated by the reincarnation path to forcefully preserve a trace of consciousness. It could be said to be extremely dangerous. The slightest bit of carelessness would cause one's body and soul to be destroyed. Long Fu, I want to ask, what realm martial artist can reincarnate after death? As long as you are a warrior, you can enter the reincarnation cycle, but you will be destroyed by the reincarnation path. Only when you have broken through the Supreme Tao and become a Supreme Tao can you enter the reincarnation path and leave behind a trace of your consciousness. Even so, not every Supreme Tao warrior can do it, not even 1 in 10,000. Nodding, Longao now finally knew why Wang Hao was so powerful. Master, if possible, you'd better not provoke this person because you don't know when this person will fully awaken. If that's the case, Master, you'll be in big trouble. I know what I'm doing. Hearing that Wang Hao was actually a rebirth realm martial artist, Longao instantly became serious. Just as Long Fu said, to preserve one's consciousness, one had to be a Supreme Tao martial artist. In other words, Wanhao's original body in his previous life was a supreme Tao martial artist. Once he awakened, he would become a supreme Tao martial artist. At that time, not to mention himself, even 1,000 of himself would not be a match for him. Long Fu, there's one thing I don't understand. If a supreme Tao martial artist reincarnates, once he awakens, will his strength be able to reach the level of his original body in his previous life? Master, I know what you mean. Without exception, once a supreme Tao martial artist reincarnates successfully and becomes a rebirth realm martial artist, his cultivation will surpass his original body in his previous life. The more times he reincarnates, the stronger his strength will be. Some supreme Tao martial artists, in order to break through to a higher realm, will risk their lives to enter the reincarnation path and become a rebirth realm martial artist. P.S. Tonight we'll continue to update, chapter by chapter. If you're willing to wait, you can wait. Chapter 557. Nodding his head, Longao was not surprised at all. 5 realms of supreme Tao. Longao knew that some supreme Tao warriors would try all kinds of ways to break through to a higher realm if they could not do so for a long time. As for the divine soul entering the path of reincarnation, unless the supreme Tao warrior had no other way, no one would do such a thing. Master, there is one thing that I don't know if I should tell you. Say it. Hearing this, Longao did not know why, but his heart skipped a beat, as if Long Fu was hiding something from him. Ever since he met Long Fu, Longao knew that Long Fu had never been like this. It seemed that this matter was not simple. What was it? Thinking back and forth, Longao also did not come up with a reason. Master, your ancestor, Long Batian, is actually a reincarnation realm warrior. Long Fu, are you joking with me? Seeing Long Fu nodding his head, Longao was shocked to the extreme because he had always thought that the ancestor was a divine soul. According to Long Fu, the ancestor had already awakened his divine soul and achieved the supreme Tao. Longao knew that if the ancestor was really a reincarnation realm warrior, then his current strength would be more terrifying than his previous life. Master, I believe you have already guessed it. Yes, your ancestor has indeed awakened his divine soul, but it has not been completely awakened. Therefore, Long Batian's current strength is only equivalent to a junior divine realm warrior. Junior divine realm warrior, according to the ancestor's talent, it would be a piece of cake for him to completely awaken his divine soul. Until now, Longao still could not believe it. No matter what, the ancestor's successful reincarnation and successful awakening of his divine soul was always a blessing for the family. The reason was simple. Once the Dragon Sect and Long family had peak Heavenly God realm martial artists, not to mention the 4 major forces, even the Long family, Wanshou Sect, and Heaven and Earth Sect would have to think twice before attacking the Dragon Sect and Long family. He did not continue to dwell on the ancestor's matter, because whether the ancestor was a samsara warrior or had awakened or not, it was a good thing for him and his family. There was no harm in doing so. After leaving the Dragon Seal space, Longao immersed himself in recovery. For 3 whole days, Longao did not leave his room. At this moment, the Cloud Island was in an uproar. Everyone knew that the master of the trash of the Longao clan had fought to a draw with Wang Hao. Furthermore, Longao looked less than 20 years old. What kind of concept was that? Everyone was very curious about Longao's background. When they heard that he was from the 9 prefectures, they became even more curious. It turned out that the 9 prefectures were too far away from the outer sea. Powerful warriors might be able to do so, but ordinary warriors would not be able to do so. Therefore, some people would never be able to leave the island and the outer sea to explore the 9 prefectures for the rest of their lives. It was precisely because of this that countless people in the outer islands were very curious about the 9 provinces. They wanted to know more about the 9 provinces from Longao. However, after that battle, Longao seemed to have disappeared from the face of the earth. No one had seen Longao in person ever since. Longao had disappeared, but the Long family had suffered. Whether it was the Yi family or the Wang family, everyone else had rushed into the Long family, wanting to see this Longao. However, the Long family had closed their doors and refused to see anyone. No matter who it was, they were not allowed to take a single step into the Long family. No matter what, the Long family was still one of the three great families of the Cloud Island. Forget about ordinary people, even the Yi family and the Wang family did not dare to casually step into the Long family. Long family, main hall. Long Bai sat at the head of the table with an indifferent expression on his face. He listened to Long Ling and Long Fan's nagging, but no one knew whether he had heard them or not. Eldest uncle, Longao does not care about the Long family at all. I suggest that we immediately kill Longao. Long Bai waved his hand. He finally could not bear to listen any longer. He said helplessly, I already understand what you mean, but I can tell you that the Long family cannot agree to your request. Why is that, eldest uncle? Both Long Ling and Long Fan's faces instantly turned ugly when they heard that their uncle had rejected them. After all, the powerful strength that Longao had displayed had deeply shocked both of them. The two of them were not idiots. They knew very well that if Long Hung had such a powerful master by his side, even if they did not go looking for trouble, what would they do if Long Hung came looking for trouble with them? As long as they borrowed the Long family's strength to kill Longao, then Long Hung would still be useless in the future. They could still trample on Long Hung whenever they wanted. Do I need to explain the Long family's decision to the two of you? The two of them shuddered when they heard their eldest uncle's cold voice. It was only at this moment that the two of them finally realized that their eldest uncle was not only their eldest uncle, he was also the family head. Leave! Long Ling and Long Fan did not waste any more words and slowly retreated. Long Bai was the only one left in the main hall. At this time, Long Bai's expression was unreadable as he muttered to himself. Longao, I really did not expect that you would end up here. At this moment, Long Bai finally knew who Longao was. Ever since Longao had appeared, Long Bai had contacted the 9 states and obtained all the information he could about Longao in the shortest amount of time possible. It was also because of this that Long Bai was very shocked. He had never imagined that the master of the dragon sect, Longao, the youth who had defied the 4 great forces, would suddenly appear on Cloud Island in the outer sea. More importantly, Longao's relationship with his son was very good. His son had even taken Longao as his master. Longao, I hope that you won't disappoint me. In the main hall of the Wang family, one of the 3 great families of Cloud Island, Wan Luo's complexion was simply gloomy to the extreme. It was as unsightly as it could be because he never would have thought that Longao would be able to fight against Wang Hao. Moreover, it was a draw. Old ancestor, should we continue to deal with Longao? Old ancestor? If outsiders heard that the Wang family's patriarch, Wang Luo, was calling Wang Hao old ancestor, who knew what they would think? Just as Longao had guessed, Wang Hao was the reincarnation of a supreme Dao martial artist, and was also the only supreme Dao martial artist in the Wang family. Back then, for some reason, he had no choice but to choose to enter the path of reincarnation with his divine soul. Fortunately, Wang Hao successfully awakened his divine soul. However, Wang Hao had yet to truly awaken his spirit. Otherwise, he would be a divine practitioner right now. Since Longao's matter has been clarified, there is no need for us to provoke him. As long as he doesn't provoke us. Old ancestor, I'm just afraid that Longao's sudden appearance on Cloud Island in the outer sea has other motives. I will keep an eye on this matter. As I said before, as long as Longao doesn't provoke us, we won't provoke him. Do you understand? No matter how unwilling he was in his heart, Wang Luo had no choice since the old ancestor had spoken. Chapter 558. After resting for 3 days, Longao managed to suppress his injuries. He still had to rely on the 9 revolving reincarnation technique. Master, are you all right? In the inn, Longao asked impatiently when he saw his master appear. Longao waved his hand and smiled. My injuries are fine now. At this moment, Longao noticed that Longang's expression was not right. He asked curiously, Longheng, what happened? Master, 3 days ago, the battle between you and Wang Hao caused an uproar in the entire Cloud Island. Everyone is talking about you. Regarding this point, Longao had long guessed it. However, Longao knew that things were not that simple. Otherwise, Longheng would not have reacted this way. Master, the Sacred Mountain already knows about you. What's the Sacred Mountain? This was the first time Longao had heard of the Sacred Mountain since he entered the Cloud Island. However, his instincts told him that the Sacred Mountain was not simple. Could it be that the Sacred Mountain was above the 3 big families? Just as expected. Master, I believe you have already guessed it. That's right, the Sacred Mountain is the true overlord of the Cloud Island. They are above the 3 big families. Legend has it that there are many illusionary divine martial artists in the Sacred Mountain. Hence, it is called the Sacred Mountain. I see. Even so, what does this have to do with me? Longheng was even more worried when he saw that his master did not care about the Sacred Mountain at all. He said, Master, we should keep a low profile during this period of time. The news that you are from the 9 regions has spread throughout the Cloud Island. The Sacred Mountain has rejected you. Nonsense. Longao was very unhappy and said, You're really meddling in other people's business. Whether I'm from the 9 states or not, it's none of the Sacred Mountain's business. Moreover, who said that the Cloud Island belongs to the Sacred Mountain? Longheng was shocked when he heard his master's arrogant words. He immediately said softly, Master, the walls have ears. Be careful not to be heard. If the Sacred Mountain finds out, we will be in big trouble. Longao was speechless when he saw how careful Longheng was. Longheng did not mock Longao. In Longheng's opinion, although his master was very strong and could even fight Wang Hao to a draw, he was still too young. As the saying goes, everyone has been young and frivolous before. Moreover, Longheng had always believed that his master had just arrived at the Cloud Island and didn't know about the situation there. If his master knew about the terrifying power of the Saint Mountain, he believed that he wouldn't be like this. With just a glance at Longheng, Longao already knew what Longheng was thinking. Tell me more about the Sacred Mountain. Longao didn't say it out loud because he knew that no matter how low-key he was, if the Sacred Mountain wanted to find trouble, they would find trouble everywhere. It didn't matter if you were low-key or not. In that case, why should he fear the Sacred Mountain? Master, there are 3 big clans on Cloud Island. But above the 3 big clans is Saint Mountain. It is said that there is a heavenly saint in Saint Mountain. As for whether it is true or not, no one knows. The 8 realms of the illusionary divine were divided into the half-sage realm, earth sage realm, heavenly sage realm, king sage realm, holy king realm, holy venerate realm, and holy emperor realm. A heavenly saint was already considered a very strong existence. If what Longheng said was true and there was a heavenly saint in Saint Mountain, then things would be troublesome. Longao knew very well that even if there was a sage or earth sage in Saint Mountain, he wouldn't be a match for them, let alone a heavenly saint. It was also because of this that Longao reevaluated the strength of the numerous islands in the outer seas. A small island like Cloud Island was already so powerful. If all the islands in the outer seas were to be added together, it would be terrifying. Now that he thought about it, the land of the 9 regions couldn't be compared to the outer seas. Longheng, you're trying to tell me that the Sacred Mountain has already noticed me, right? Yes, Master. You may not know, but Saint Mountain has been suppressing the 3 big clans for so many years, especially the Wang family. Now that you are from the land of the 9 regions, Saint Mountain will naturally go against you. Suppressing the Wang family? With regards to this, Longao couldn't understand. Since Saint Mountain was filled with experts, why didn't they know that Wang Hao was a rebirth realm martial artist? Even if Wang Hao hid his identity well and the Sacred Mountain did not know that he was a reincarnation realm warrior, Wanhao was very high profile and talented. Would the sacred mountain not care about such a danger? This didn't seem to make sense. Longao didn't tell Longheng about his doubts. Longao knew that Longheng definitely didn't know what he didn't know. Even though Longheng was from the Cloud Island, he knew that Longheng definitely didn't know. If we don't provoke Saint Mountain better not provoke me. Longheng didn't know what his master meant. Instead, he asked, Master, what do we do next? Refine pills. Refine pills? That's right, Longheng. I won't stay on Cloud Island for long because I still have many things to do in the land of the 9 regions. Therefore, I'm going to impart to you what I know about alchemy as soon as possible. As for how far you can go, it depends on you. However, with your comprehension and talent, you can at least become an emperor-level alchemist. An emperor-level alchemist was a realm that countless alchemists dreamed of breaking through. However, at this moment, Longheng didn't feel happy at all. Master, when are you going to leave? I don't know, but at the very least, I'll have to wait until my injuries are completely healed. During this time, you should focus on refining pills. If there's anything you don't understand, just ask. Master, will you take me with you when the time comes? I don't know. Longao really didn't know. After all, this was the outer sea and it was very far away from the land of the 9 regions. Even if he didn't bring Longheng with him, he didn't have full confidence that he could return to the land of the 9 regions smoothly. Longheng, even if you can't leave with me this time, you have to cultivate well, especially in alchemy. I need you very much. I will definitely come back in the future. Although he was reluctant to leave his master, Longheng knew that his master had his own difficulties. Therefore, he didn't continue to dwell on it. Instead, he asked, Master, do we continue to stay here or return to the family? Return to the Long family. In alchemy, peace was the most important thing. There were all kinds of people coming and going. If they were unlucky and met an expert, things would be troublesome. Longheng nodded and didn't have any objections. The two immediately got up and walked back to the family. However, they were very careful. No matter what, Longao was now a celebrity on Cloud Island. They believed that many people would pay attention to him. As for Longheng, he was a celebrity himself. Chapter 559. Longao and Longheng immediately began refining pills the moment they stepped into the Long family. Longao was very curious about the Long family. He didn't know what kind of tricks they were playing. Under normal circumstances, the Long family should already know that he and Wanhao had fought to a draw. If that was the case, why did the Long family act as if nothing had happened when he and Longheng entered? It was also because of this that Longao had a new understanding of the Long family. Longheng was very infatuated with alchemy. Especially with Longao's help, he was even more obsessed. The next day, dusk. Longao, master of the dragon sect in the Sky Province. In just a little over a year, you've risen to power and successfully counterattacked the 4 great forces, inflicting heavy losses on them. I'm very curious, why did Master Long come to the Cloud Island of the Outer Sea? Great Hall of the Dragon Sect. Longao hadn't said a word from beginning to end. This was because he realized that the Long family head in front of him wasn't simple at all. Before he knew it, the Long family head had already found out everything about him. If they were in the 9 states or the Outer Sea, he wouldn't be surprised at all if Long Bai asked about him. However, the problem now was that the 9 states and the Outer Sea were very far apart. It wasn't easy to get news in a short period of time. Longao had a good impression of Long Bai, but it wasn't because Long Bai was Long Heng's father. Master Long, I can understand why you don't want to answer. However, I really want to know if you came to the Cloud Island for any reason. Long family head, you and I both belong to the Long family, and I am also Long Heng's master. Therefore, we can speak frankly. I came to the Cloud Island by chance. If Longheng hadn't saved me, I believe that I wouldn't even know about the Cloud Island. Long Hung was naturally aware of this point. Master Long, the sacred mountain has been paying attention to your fight with Wang Hao. I believe that you also know about the sacred mountain's matters. Long Bai didn't continue to dwell on Long Ao's identity or anything else. He knew very well what he should and shouldn't ask. Sacred Mountain. Patriarch Long, Saint Mountain has nothing to do with me. I am just a passerby to Cloud Island. If it wasn't for Long Hung, I might have already left. Therefore, I don't want to get involved in Saint Mountain. Before Long Bai could say anything, Long Ao continued. Patriarch Long, for Long Heng's sake, I would like to remind you to be careful of the Wang family, especially Wang Hao. Long Bai's heart skipped a beat when he heard this. If someone else had said this to him, he would have scoffed. However, the person who had said this to him was Long Ao. Master Dragon, can you be more specific? Shaking his head, Long Ao did not intend to tell anyone that Wang Hao was a rebirth realm warrior. He was just a passerby to the Cloud Island. Once he had imparted all his knowledge of alchemy to Long Hung, he would leave the Cloud Island and the Outer Sea to return to the 9 continents. Perhaps he would return to the Outer Sea in the future to explore the so-called Outer Sea, but not now. No matter what, he had to return to the 9 continents. He still did not know what had happened to the 9 continents since the beast tide had invaded. Patriarch Long, in everyone's eyes, Long Hung is just a piece of trash. Am I right? Master Long. Long Ao waved his hand. There was no need for Long Bai to say anything. He already knew what Long Bai was thinking. When he looked at Long Bai, Long Ao already knew that the patriarch of the Long family doted on Long Hung a lot. Otherwise, he would not have shown so much concern for Long Hung. Long Ao was well aware of what Long Bai was thinking. Unfortunately, Long Bai's thoughts were pitiful. The reason why Long Heng's cultivation has stagnated is not because of his talent. I know that. Master Long, have you found the reason? Long Bai was overjoyed. Long Bai was no fool. He knew that Long Ao must have found something. Could his son really be able to turn the tables? If that was true, he would be willing to give up 10 years of his life. It was still the same saying, the pity of all parents. Long Ao nodded. He did not want to tell the Long family anything about Long Hung, but the moment he saw Long Bai, he changed his mind and said, Patriarch Long, Long Hung is 1 in a million, and one of the rarest lightning constitutions in the world. When he was struck by lightning, he instantly awakened it. Not only is Long Hung not a piece of trash, he is also a cultivation genius. As expected. Long Bai let out a long sigh of relief and said, For the past 3 years, I have never dared to face him. Fortunately, Hunger met you. Otherwise, Long Ao did not blame Long Bai because he already knew the ins and outs of the matter. Long Heng's cultivation had stagnated, and Long Bai had tried everything he could but to no avail. In the end, Long Bai had chosen to give up on his son. Long Ao knew that although Long Bai seemed to have given up, it was actually because he could not face his son. In the end, Long Bai was not in the wrong. What was wrong was that fate made fools of people. Everything is in the past. If nothing unexpected happens, Long Heng's cultivation speed will greatly increase from now on. In less than a year, he will be able to break through to the illusionary divine stage. Long Bai's body trembled when he heard this. He knew what the illusionary divine stage meant. If his family could produce an illusionary divine stage cultivator, then even the Holy Mountain would have to be wary of his family, let alone the other 2 great families. However, Long Bai still did not believe this. Even his master had not broken through to the illusionary divine stage. Would he let his disciple break through to the illusionary divine stage first? Everyone knew that Long Ao was only a peak great venerable. He had not even reached the world king level, let alone the illusionary divine stage. Long Ao knew what Long Bai was thinking, but he did not try to explain himself. Sometimes, the truth trumped everything. There was no point in talking nonsense. Master Long, you can stay in the Long family during this time. I believe that the Wang family will not dare to cause trouble for you. Longao did not stand on ceremony. He nodded, said a word of thanks, and left. Longbai was the only one left in the hall. It was quiet. Suddenly, an old man walked out from behind him. Longbai immediately said respectfully, "Uncle, why have you come out?" "He is Longao?" "That's right." Longbai was very respectful towards his uncle. Besides being his biological uncle, he was also a powerful world emperor and the #1 expert in the family. It was because of his uncle that the Long family was able to become one of the 3 great families of the Cloud Island. This child is extraordinary. No matter what, we must build a good relationship with him. We must not offend him. Longbai was very surprised to hear his uncle's words. After all, he had never heard his uncle praise anyone like this before. Chapter 560. Ever since he returned to the Long family, Longao had been in seclusion and focused on concocting pills. Longao knew that there was only one way for Longheng to awaken his lightning physique and increase his cultivation speed, and that was to rely on the stimulation of pills. This type of lightning pill was extremely difficult to concoct. Even with Longao's level of understanding and skills, he only managed to concoct one pill after spending an entire day and night. After Longheng consumed the pill, he immediately went into seclusion to cultivate. 10 days later, Longheng opened his eyes in surprise. His face was filled with excitement, and his entire body seemed to be trembling because of it. Longheng could not wait any longer. He immediately went to find Longao and said excitedly, "Master, thank you. Thank you so much. After consuming the pill that you concocted, my cultivation has directly broken through from the honorable realm to the peak of the great honored realm." Longheng had never imagined that his cultivation would improve so much this time, leaping to the peak of the great venerable realm. Didn't this mean that he was now at the same level as Wang Hao? Longao was not surprised at all and nodded his head indifferently. "Master, aren't you excited?" Longheng felt as though someone had poured a bucket of cold water on him. He was still extremely excited just a moment ago, but now, he felt as though he had done the right thing and no one was praising him. Longheng wanted to be praised by his master for his breakthrough in cultivation. After all, he had never heard of such a breakthrough from the honorable realm to the peak of the great honored realm. "With your lightning physique and talent, as well as your 3 years of cultivation, it is within my expectations that you would be able to make a breakthrough now. If you can continue to cultivate for another year, it will not be difficult for you to break through to the illusionary divine realm." Illusionary divine realm? If his master had said this to him 10 days ago, Longheng would definitely not have believed him. But now, there was a living example in front of him, and he had personally experienced it. "Master, if this is the case, does it mean that I have no chance of breaking through to the illusionary divine realm?" Longheng sighed deeply. However, it was already good enough for him to break through to the peak of the great honored realm. Longheng knew that if he had not met his master, he would never have been able to reach the great honored realm. With a smile, Longao suddenly said, "Although your cultivation speed is a little slow, I believe that your future cultivation speed will increase. If nothing goes wrong, you should be able to break through to the illusionary divine stage within a year." "Master, is what you said true? Are you trying to trick me? Is it necessary?" At this moment, Longheng would not doubt Longao. Whatever Longao said, he would believe it. As such, when Longheng heard that he would be able to break through to the illusionary divine stage within a year, he was extremely excited. His entire face was flushed with excitement. "Fourth young master, the patriarch has invited you and Senior Longao to the main hall." Longheng, who was in the midst of his excitement, suddenly heard his subordinate's voice. He was very curious as to why his father had called for him at this time. "Master, since your father has invited us, let's pay him a visit. In any case, we haven't left his side for the past few days. If it was an ordinary person, Longao might not have gone. However, no matter what, Longbai was still Long Heng's father. As the saying went, even if it was not for the sake of the monk, it was for the sake of the Buddha. When the two of them arrived at the main hall, they saw that there were only 3 people in the main hall. The patriarch of the Long family, Longbai, was seated on the right-hand side. As for the main seat, there were 2 middle-aged men, one fat and one skinny, who gave off a very arrogant feeling. "Master, be careful. These 2 people should be from the Holy Mountain." Holy Mountain? Longao did not expect the Holy Mountain to personally send people here for him. They must have nothing better to do. The reason why Longao guessed this was because Longbai did not look for anyone but himself and Longheng. This in itself was enough to explain the situation. Seeing the 2 of them enter, Luo Fei and Sui did not even bother to look at them. Their arrogant looks made Longheng feel extremely annoyed. If not for his fear of the Holy Mountain, Longheng would have already attacked them. "You are Longao?" Ignoring the 2 of them, Longao directly sat on the right-hand side and looked at Longbai. He asked, "May I know why the patriarch of the Long family has asked me to come here today?" Ignoring the 2 envoys of the Holy Mountain scared Longbai so much that his heart skipped a beat. However, he still replied, "Master Long, these 2 are the envoys of the Holy Mountain. They have come here to discuss something with you." "You are Longao?" "Whether I am Longao or not, what does that have to do with you?" "If you were arrogant, then I was even more arrogant." Longao was such a person. If the 2 saints were fine, then perhaps he would be normal. However, the 2 of them were as arrogant as ever. Longao did not like them at all. If not for the fact that he was afraid that the Long family would be implicated, he would not have even spoken to them. "You are very arrogant, brat." The 2 of them were not angry at all, because the 2 of them did not put Longao in their eyes from the beginning to the end. The Holy Mountain was the true overlord of Cloud Island and was above the 3 great families. It was because of this that the Holy Mountain's words were absolute on Cloud Island and no one dared to provoke them. Thus, the 2 of them were extremely arrogant. Let alone Longao, an outsider who had just entered Cloud Island, they did not even place the patriarch of the Long family in their eyes. It had to be known that the patriarch of the Long family, Longbai, who was also Long Heng's father, was a true world king master. As for the 2 envoys of the Holy Mountain, they were only Earth sovereigns. Even so, the 2 of them were still arrogant. This was the importance of having a backer. "Whether I am arrogant or not is none of your business. If you have something to say, then say it. I don't have the time to accompany you 2 idiots." Longao did not give the 2 of them any face at all. Not to mention that they were envoys of the Holy Mountain. Even if they were ordinary people, they would not let such an insult go. "Longao, you are courting death. Saints, please do not be impatient. Master Long has just arrived at Cloud Island and does not know the rules of Cloud Island. Please forgive me." Longbai and Longheng were depressed to the extreme. The 2 of them could not figure out why Longao was so overbearing. No matter how they looked at it, the other party was still an envoy sent by the Holy Mountain. If he dared to disrespect 2 saints, it was clear that he did not place the Holy Mountain in his eyes. Longbai was well aware of Longao's background. But the problem was that this was Cloud Island in the outer seas, not the 9-province continent. If the Holy Mountain really wanted to deal with him, how could he fight back? However, Longao simply ignored the 2 of them and stared at the 2 so-called emissaries of the sacred mountain. He then said coldly, "I will say this for the last time. If you have something to say, say it quickly. If you have fart, say it quickly. I don't have time to talk nonsense with the 2 of you who have nothing better to do. The sacred mountain is really better than meeting in person." Longao's meaning was very clear. He was provoking them. The 2 envoys were not idiots. They naturally knew what he meant. Chapter 561. How could the 2 emissaries endure such humiliation? The two of them roared angrily and charged at Longao. However, the two of them left quickly and returned even faster. Spitting out mouthfuls of blood and swaying unsteadily, the two saints looked as if they had seen a ghost. Disbelief was written all over their faces. "You dare attack us?" The two of them had never imagined that the other party would suddenly attack them. One had to know that they represented the sacred mountain this time. The other party had insulted them verbally and then attacked them. This in itself was a provocation to the sacred mountain. Anyone who provoked the sacred mountain would die. The sacred mountain was the ruler of Cloud Island. Who dared to provoke them? Longao's sudden attack had scared Longbai and Longhung out of their wits. However, Longhung was more excited than anything else because he realized that his master seemed to be completely fearless. First, he didn't take the Wang family seriously. Now, he didn't take the sacred mountain seriously. "You're just two dogs of the sacred mountain. What else can you do besides bark every day?" Longao couldn't be bothered with the two of them. He got up and left, leaving the two emissaries with gloomy expressions. "Emissaries! Longbai, shut your mouth. Your Long family actually dared to protect such a thing. We will report this to the sacred mountain later and tell them what happened just now. As for how the sacred mountain will deal with the Long family, we can't do anything about it." Shameless. One had to admit that the two of them were shameless to the extreme. Because Longao didn't take the sacred mountain seriously, once news of this spread, the sacred mountain would definitely decide to destroy Longao and the Long family along with him. Before Longbai could say anything, the two emissaries had already gotten up and left. They disappeared without a trace in a short while. It seemed that the two of them had suffered a great blow. However, after thinking about it, they understood. No matter what, the two of them were the representatives of the sacred mountain. No matter where they went, they were sought after. When had they ever suffered such humiliation? "Father! Sai Hunger, your master is too reckless. Although he's doing well in the 9 states, he's a frog at the bottom of a well. The sacred mountain, especially a great sovereign, is not someone he can provoke." Eh? Suddenly, Longbai seemed to sense something. Shock filled his face as he asked anxiously, "Hunger, have you broken through to the Supreme Realm?" Longhung nodded. He didn't intend to hide this matter. "Ha ha, good, good, good." For 3 whole years, Longbai had racked his brain for the sake of his most beloved son. But in the end, he was powerless to do anything about it. That was why Longbai was so excited when he heard that his son had finally broken through to the Supreme Being realm. "Father!" "Hunger, I know that I have neglected you for the past few years, but I didn't do it on purpose. I hope you can understand me. Now I want to see who dares to look down on you in the future. The genius of the past has returned. Your master is really amazing. Father, I have something to tell you." "Speak." At this moment, Longbai was clearly very happy. After all, his only son had suddenly become a supreme. This was 100 times happier than him breaking through to the World Emperor realm himself. "Father, because of Master's help this time, not only was I able to break into the Supreme Realm, but I even reached the peak of the Great Exalted Realm. I'm just a single step away from becoming a World King." Longbai waved his hand and said with disbelief, "Be good, don't joke around. I'm already very happy that you were able to break through to the Supreme Realm." It wasn't that Longbai didn't believe it, but that no one would believe such a thing. It had to be known that Longhung hadn't broken through for 3 whole years. According to the talent of the super geniuses of Cloud Island, such a thing shouldn't have happened. 3 years. After 3 whole years, Longbai had already chosen to give up. Now that his son had broken through to the Supreme Realm, he was already satisfied. He didn't dare to hope that his son would be able to reach the peak of the Great Exalted Realm in a single step. But at this time, Longbai seemed to think of something. He stared at his son in front of him and asked solemnly, "Hunger, let me ask you now. Have you really broken through to the peak of the Great Exalted Realm?" There was no way Longbai would believe that Yunche would be able to rely on his son alone, given the past 3 years. But now, the situation was different. His son had taken an expert as his master, and Longbai already knew about Longao's achievements. Moreover, since Longao could help his son break through to the supreme realm, then he would definitely be able to break through to the peak of the great exalted realm. Longheng nodded and said excitedly, "Father, Master said that I have a thunder physique. I've already taken a pill, and after several days of refining, my cultivation has advanced by leaps and bounds." After thinking for a moment, Longheng continued, "After 3 years of accumulation, I'll break through in a single day. Master said that if I can continue accumulating for another year, I'll be able to break through to the illusionary divine realm." After hearing his son's words, Longbai was shocked to the extreme. He didn't have the slightest doubt that the thunder physique was the real reason why his son hadn't been able to break through. Longbai knew that his son was lucky to have met Longao this time. Otherwise, his son would have been a cripple for the rest of his life. "Father, Master is my benefactor. So no matter what happens, I hope that you can promise me one thing. Protect Master's safety." Longbai, who had been extremely excited, instantly turned serious when he heard his son's request. He said seriously, "Hunger, you must know that Longao didn't offend the Yi family or the Wang family this time. It's the Holy Mountain. With the strength of our Long family, we can't possibly be a match for the Holy Mountain." Longbai didn't finish his sentence, but the meaning behind his words was very clear. The 3 great families of the Cloud Island were on par with each other in terms of strength, but the Holy Mountain was different. The Holy Mountain was a supreme existence that surpassed the 3 great families. Even if the 3 great families joined forces, they wouldn't be a match for the Holy Mountain, let alone one-on-one. There was only one point. The strongest people in the 3 great families were world emperors, and the Holy Mountain had illusionary divine realm experts. Even without considering their strength, just the illusionary divine realm experts were not something that the 3 great families could contend against. How could Longheng not know about his father's worries? However, he still said in a firm voice, "Father, no matter what happens, I hope that the family will protect Master. Otherwise, I will choose to live and die with Master." Longheng's sudden rise in power caused his status in the family to rise. After all, a disciple with such potential was rarely seen in 100 years, so the Long family wouldn't choose to give up on Longheng no matter what. However, Longheng had no intention of threatening the family. "Heng'er, I can't make the decision on this matter. We must discuss this with your 3rd grandfather." Longheng was overjoyed when he heard his 3rd grandfather. He hurriedly said, "Father, let's go now." Longbai nodded. Actually, Longbai didn't want anything to happen to Longao, whether it was for public or private reasons. Chapter 562. Sacred Mountain, the overlord of the Cloud Island. Perhaps others were afraid of the Holy Mountain, but from start to finish, Longao did not place the Holy Mountain in his eyes at all. Longao's principle was simple. If others did not offend him, he would not offend them. If others offended him, he would pay them back double. After returning to his residence, Longao waited for 4 hours before Longheng returned. "Longheng, I am leaving the Cloud Island tomorrow." Longao had thought about it carefully, and felt that the best way was to leave by himself. Firstly, he did not know what had happened in the 9 states, and how much damage the beast tide had caused to the 9 states. He was worried about the 9 states, Dragon Sect and his family. Secondly, although he was not afraid of Sacred Mountain, he did not want to implicate the Long family. Longao knew that Sacred Mountain only wanted to deal with him. If he left, Sacred Mountain would not do anything to the Long family. If Longao wanted to leave, Longheng would not be happy. "Master, don't you believe in the Long family?" "What do you mean?" "Master, although the Long family is not as powerful as Sacred Mountain, we are not cowards. I have just met my grandfather, and he has promised that as long as Sacred Mountain comes, we will live and die together." Hearing this, Longao was slightly touched. No matter what, Sacred Mountain was the overlord of the Cloud Island. Their strength and foundation were far beyond the Long family. If they wanted to go against them, they would be courting death. Longheng, listen to me. Master, listen to me first. Before Longao could speak, Longheng said, Master, as the saying goes, a teacher for a day is a father for life. You are the one who gave me a new life. I, Longheng, am eternally grateful. Longao did not say anything and sat quietly. Master, the grudge between you and Sacred Mountain is because of me. So no matter what happens, I will stand with you, even if it is Sacred Mountain. Longao was moved because he realized that Longheng seemed to have changed. Longao was happy because a person would only improve if they changed. Otherwise, according to Longheng's character, it would be difficult for him to reach the end of the martial path. Master, please stay. With a deep sigh, Longao had no choice but to nod and agree. After that, the two of them didn't continue to dwell on the matter of the Sacred Mountain. Apart from teaching alchemy, the two of them spent most of their time cultivating. Longheng was also constantly practicing the destruction seal. He had to admit that Longheng was indeed very talented. In just a few days, he had already mastered the first seal of the Seal of Destruction. Although its power was not very strong, it still made Longao feel satisfied and praised. Cloud Island, Wang family inside a secret room. Boom! With a loud bang, the entire secret chamber collapsed. Wan Hao stood up and looked around coldly. However, his face was soon filled with pleasant surprise. He muttered to himself, I've already completed 1/3 of the reincarnation awakening. In less than 2 years, I'll be able to reach the peak of my strength. I might even be able to break through my limits and reach an even higher level of the Divine Tao. Wan Hao was very surprised. Because according to the cultivation speed of his previous life and the bottlenecks of the Divine Tao that he encountered, it was almost impossible for him to continue breaking through and reach a higher level of the Divine Tao. In the end, Wan Hao had no choice but to enter the reincarnation awakening. If he failed, he would vanish. If he succeeded, he would be reborn. After the reincarnation awakening, Wan Hao had already awakened 1/3 of his divine spirit. His cultivation had also broken through to the Sage-to-be realm. Once his divine spirit was fully awakened, he would be able to reach the divine Tao realm of his previous life. There was an even greater benefit of the reincarnation awakening. After the divine spirit was awakened, not only could he regain his peak strength, he could even break through the bottleneck and reach a higher level. This was also the real reason why many Divine Tao warriors chose to enter the reincarnation path even though they knew that it was very dangerous. It could be said that there was only a slim chance of survival. In the Sage-to-be realm, in addition to the supreme sword principle that he had created himself, he also had actual combat experience. Wang Hao was confident that within the Cloud Island, unless he encountered a powerful saint, he would be invincible. Congratulations to the old ancestor for successfully awakening. Wan Hao waved his hand and said with a smile, As long as I can awaken 2/3 of my divine spirit, no one will be my match within the Cloud Island. As for the outer sea, unless my divine spirit is fully awakened. There were countless islands in the outer sea, and there was no lack of divine Tao warriors. If Wang Hao could be invincible, he would not have had to take the risk to enter the reincarnation path. Old ancestor, 2 days ago, I just received a piece of news. Speak. It is said that the Saint Mountain sent 2 messengers to the Long family, wanting to summon Longao to the Saint Mountain. But before they could speak, they were directly humiliated and even injured by Longao. They left in disgrace. Hearing this, Wan Hao seemed to be a little surprised. He nodded and said, I know. With that, Wan Hao left the secret chamber and shot towards the Long family. If the Saint Mountain did not participate, a Sage-to-be warrior was definitely the strongest existence on the Cloud Island. So from beginning to end, no one could find Wang Hao at all. In the Long family, Longao was guiding Longheng's cultivation. Suddenly his expression changed and he said, Cultivate by yourself. I will be back soon. Longao's figure quickly disappeared. Longheng didn't know what was going on. However, Longheng was very clear about his identity. As a disciple, what should he ask and what shouldn't be asked, he clearly knew. Longao saw Wang Hao's figure, but before he could say anything, Wang Hao had already shot out quickly and disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. Why was Wang Hao looking for him? Although he did not know why Wang Hao was looking for him, Longao still chased after him. He wanted to see what Wang Hao was up to. Longao was very afraid of Wang Hao because he already knew that Wang Hao was a reincarnated warrior and had successfully awakened his divine soul. If he used his self-created martial technique, the power would be very strong. However, Longao had already sensed that Wang Hao did not have the slightest murderous intent. Because of this, Longao chased after him without any scruples. The two of them, one in front and one behind, left the Cloud City in a short while and shot towards the distant sea. Their speed was very fast, just like two ghosts under the curtain of the night. Beside the sea, Longao and Wang Hao stood face to face. Longao did not open his mouth, but waited for Wang Hao to speak first. Longao, if I am not wrong, you should be a reincarnated warrior. I want to ask, have you awakened your divine soul? Reincarnated warrior? When did he become a reincarnated warrior? Hearing Wang Hao's words, Longao was stunned at first, but he immediately understood what Wang Hao meant. In this case, Longao also said shamelessly, since you have already guessed it, I will not hide it from you. I am a reincarnated warrior. Chapter 563. Straightforward. To tell you the truth, I'm also a reincarnation realm warrior. I knew it. Longao really felt that it was a little funny. Everything was fine, but he just had to look for him to talk about this matter. It was really a pain in the ass. Wang Hao, I wonder why you've come to me this time. It's simple. I want to join forces with you to destroy Sacred Mountain and divide Cloud Island equally. What do you think? Just you and me? Longao had already sensed Wang Hao's aura. It was the Sage-to-be realm. In just a few days, Wang Hao had broken through from the Great Honored Realm to the Sage-to-be realm. He had to admit that the reincarnation of a supreme Tao warrior was indeed powerful. If this situation continued, Wang Hao believed that it wouldn't be long before he could awaken all of his spirit and reach the peak of his previous life. Longao, you don't have to deceive yourself. I know your strength. It's just that you haven't awakened your spirit yet. Before Longao finished speaking, Wang Hao continued. After the spirit awakens, you and I will both be supreme Tao warriors. I dare not speak for the outer sea, but it will be easy for us to destroy a small sacred mountain. What do you think? Wang Hao, I'm curious. You and I both know the power of Sacred Mountain. Since that's the case, you can easily destroy Sacred Mountain with your strength alone. Why do you come to me? Regarding this point, Longao seriously could not figure it out. However, Wang Hao had already reached the Sage-to-be realm. In less than 3 years, he would definitely awaken all of his spirit. Once he reached the Supreme Tao realm, he could easily destroy Sacred Mountain and dominate Cloud Island. If that was the case, why did Wang Hao come to him? Was Wang Hao out of his mind and wanted to divide half of Cloud Island with someone else? Longao, you and I are straightforward people. I won't beat around the bush. In my previous life, I had many enemies, but I couldn't take revenge. So I need an ally. You are the most suitable person. I see. My request is simple. As long as you can help me kill my enemies, Cloud Island will be yours. What do you think? Sorry, I like to be alone. You'd better find someone else. Rejected? Hearing that the other party was unwilling, Wang Hao's face instantly turned cold. He said in a cold voice, Longao, as the saying goes, a wise man submits to circumstances. You haven't awakened your soul yet. If I kill you now, do you think you'll have a chance to awaken your soul? You want to kill me? That's right. If you can't be my friend, then you're my enemy. As for the fate of my enemies, I believe you don't know. Let me tell you now. Every one of my enemies only has one ending, and that is death. Longao coldly snorted and said, I won't agree. I want to see how you will kill me. Arrogant. Wang Hao couldn't figure out what gave Longao such confidence. But he had already awakened 1/3 of his spirit, and his cultivation had broken through to the half-saint realm. He was almost invincible on the Cloud Island except for the Sacred Mountain. But what about Longao? He was just a puny Great Venerable. There was a huge difference between a Great Venerable and a half-saint realm. It could be said that a half-saint realm expert could kill a Great Venerable with a single move. Because of this, Wang Hao was full of confidence. As long as he wanted to, he could kill this person in front of him at any time. Longao, I'll give you one last chance. Do you agree or not? I'll answer you one last time. I won't agree. I suspect that your ears are damaged. Don't tell me you don't understand what I'm saying. Longao didn't intend to form an alliance with Wang Hao because Wang Hao was too dangerous. Once he formed an alliance with Wang Hao, there would only be one final result. There was no exception. Since he already knew the result, why would he agree? Moreover, Longao knew that he wasn't a reincarnated divine Tao expert. As long as he formed an alliance with Wang Hao's strength would increase tremendously while he would slowly become a puppet. Wang Hao's face became colder and colder. He suddenly asked, Do you know my current strength? Peak half-saint. I'm curious. Since you already know that I'm a peak half-saint, why do you still dare to do this? Aren't you afraid of death? Longao, even if you're a reincarnation realm expert, you're still trash in front of me before you awaken your soul. Do you believe me? I don't want to talk nonsense with trash. If you want to fight, then fight. If you don't want to fight, then scram. Ha ha, good. Since you want to die, then I'll fulfill your wish. Saying so, Wang Hao rushed out. Before he arrived, his terrifying Saint Chi aura had already suppressed Wang Hao. In Wang Hao's opinion, he had already reached the half-saint realm. If he wanted to kill Wang Hao, it would be a piece of cake. But at this time, Longao's Saint Chi aura suddenly erupted, scaring Wang Hao so much that he almost retreated. However, Wang Hao was a reincarnation realm expert after all. He had lived 2 lives, so his ability to adapt was better than ordinary people. After a brief shock, he immediately fought Longao. Both of them were half-saint realm experts. Although Wang Hao was a reincarnation realm expert, he was facing Longao, a monster who had turned the tide. This time, Wang Hao seemed to want to end the battle quickly. As soon as he came, he immediately used his self-created martial skill, Supreme Sword Tao. The cold green destiny sword emitted a cold light. He didn't dare to be careless. Longao knew very well that his sorrow of heaven and earth couldn't suppress the Supreme Sword Tao. Instead of wasting his opportunity, he might as well think of other ways. Longao directly summoned the dragon seal from his dantian. Ever since he obtained the dragon seal, Longao rarely used it as a weapon. Although the dragon seal was incomparably hard, it still couldn't reach its peak power. But at this moment, Longao was ready to test the power of the dragon seal. Supreme Sword Tao! Wang Hao roared, and a shocking sword light instantly slashed out. However, at this moment, the blood-sucking frenzy blade suddenly appeared in Longao's hand. With the fastest speed, he slashed out his strongest blade, blood-sucking engulfing the heavens. The shocking blade light and the shocking sword light were like 2 meteors, fiercely intertwining with each other. Intense sparks burst out, and the space was forcibly torn apart. The space constantly roared, as if it could swallow the world. Boom! A loud sound rang out, and both of them groaned at the same time. However, both of them forcibly endured and looked at each other in shock. As expected of a reincarnation realm expert, the power of the Supreme Sword Tao seemed to have doubled. If Wang Hao hadn't used his full strength, and used his strongest blade, he believed that he would have been killed by the sword light. Wang Hao was similarly shocked. Firstly, he didn't expect his opponent to be a half-saint realm expert. Secondly, he didn't expect his opponent to be able to use such a powerful blade that was comparable to his supreme sword Dao. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it even if he was beaten to death. Chapter 564. Wan Hao's face was gloomy to the extreme, as unsightly as it could be. The two's strongest attacks could be considered to be a draw. Neither of them wasted any more words as they waited for an opportunity to strike. Their bodies moved again at this time. It was still the supreme sword Dao, but Wan Hao was clearly using the power of his spirit this time. The remnant will of the spirit was the trump card of every rebirth cultivator. It could be said that once a cultivator of the divine way successfully reincarnated, there would be a sliver of remnant will in their dantian. This sliver of remnant will would greatly increase the speed of their spirit awakening. Once they lost this sliver of remnant will, the speed of their spirit awakening would also decrease. Under normal circumstances, Wan Hao would not use this trump card because it would waste several years of his time. However, Wan Hao felt that it was worth it. He thought that Longao would also use remnant will, but Wan Hao never expected that Longao would not use it at all. Don't blame me if you want to die. Longao naturally knew about remnant will, so he was quite serious and did not dare to be careless in the slightest. Using the remnant will of the spirit, Wan Hao once again used the supreme sword Dao. This time, its power was doubled. What kind of concept was this? Longao knew very well how terrifying the power of his opponent's move was. Just the blood-sucking broadsword and dragon seal alone could not withstand it. In the end, Longao had no choice but to use the 9 needles to seal the god. Under these circumstances, only the 9 needles god seal could greatly increase his strength, and even allow him to reach the saint realm. When that time came, he would have a chance to kill Wan Hao and get rid of all future troubles. The 9 needles god seal was Longao's greatest trump card. Unless it was a last resort, Longao would not use the 9 needles divine seal at all. He had used it several times since his debut and had already reached his limit. Unless his cultivation could continue to break through, there was a 99% chance of backlash if he continued to use it. But now, if he did not use the 9 needles god seal, Longao knew that it would be very difficult for him to block Wan Hao's remnant will and supreme sword Dao. Cloud Island, outside the Long family's house. Elder Ouyang, please come in. Long Bai felt extremely helpless as he stared at the 3 people in front of him. His worst fears had really come true. Ouyang Mengchun gave a cold snort before he said in a frosty voice, Long Bai, you sure are bold. How dare you disregard our sacred mountain? Elder Ouyang, what are you talking about? Our Long family has always shocked the sacred mountain. Both Luo Fei and Sui looked at Long Bai with disdain. Luo Fei put on a fake smile and said, Long Bai, you were there when Longao looked down on the sacred mountain. I really want to ask you, why didn't you say something back then? Long Bai harshly despised the 3 of them in his heart, but due to the sacred mountain's strength, he had no choice but to compromise. Elder Ouyang, Longao is just a guest of my Long family. I have no right to criticize him. As for the grudge between Longao and the sacred mountain, it really has nothing to do with our Long family. Father. At this moment, Long Heng's figure suddenly appeared and said coldly, My master is just teaching 2 dogs a lesson. What's wrong with that? Slap. Before Long Heng could finish speaking, Ouyang Mengchun slapped him across the face. If he hadn't held back, this slap alone would have been enough to take Long Heng's life. In truth, it was impossible for Ouyang Mengchun to kill Long Heng. The reason was simple: Long Heng was still Long Bai's son, and the sacred mountain still needed to rely on the Long family to keep the other 2 families in check. Impudent. Who do you think you are? You're nothing but trash. As Long Bai saw his own son nearly beaten to death, his complexion had turned cold and gloomy to the extreme. His body emitted an icy killing intent. Ouyang Mengchen was a world king martial artist, but he was also a world king martial artist. Once they fought, it was hard to say who would win. But in the end, Long Bai endured it. After all, he was the patriarch of the Long family. As the patriarch of the Long family, he had to consider the interests of the family. He couldn't allow the family to fall into eternal damnation just for himself and his son. The sacred mountain only knows how to bully the weak. Your 2 dogs are randomly biting people. Is my master not allowed to teach them a lesson? I really want to ask, who set this rule? Hanger. Long Bai was shocked. He never imagined that his precious son would protect Longao like this. But no matter what, the person in front of him was still a world king martial artist of the sacred mountain. If Ouyang Mengchen really killed Longhum, what should he do? Long Bai, I won't kill him because of you, but you can't escape punishment. Since you dared to insult the sacred mountain, I'll cripple your dantian. Long Bai was shocked. How could he let someone cripple his son's dantian? Longhum was the only person in the Long family who could advance to the illusionary divine stage. Long Bai stood in front of Longhum and coldly looked at the 3 people in front of him. You've gone too far. Before Long Bai could even finish his sentence, he was sent flying. From start to finish, Long Bai had not even seen a single shadow of the other party. 3rd Elder. When they saw the old man who had suddenly appeared, the 3 people immediately bowed respectfully. Zhou Dian, the 3rd Elder of the Sacred Mountain, was a half-step saint martial artist. The Sacred Mountain had sent a half-step saint to establish their authority on Cloud Island. Not only did they want to kill Longao, but they also wanted to use the Long family as an example to intimidate Cloud Island. But the Sacred Mountain wasn't stupid. They wouldn't destroy the Long family. The Sacred Mountain had to rely on the Long family to keep the Yi and Wang families in check. 3rd Elder. Long Bai's expression was extremely ugly as he struggled to his feet. He knew that the Sacred Mountain had already made up their mind to kill them by mobilizing half-step saints this time. If he tried to stop them, not only would he suffer, even his entire family would not be able to escape destruction. Long Bai, the Long family was in the wrong first. The Sacred Mountain's dignity cannot be insulted. Since Longhung is your son, I can be lenient. But you must hand over Longao. It was unknown how Zhou Dian attacked, but Longheng's blood-curdling scream rang out. It turned out that Longheng's left arm had been forcibly cut off. Ah! When he heard his son scream, Long Bai closed his eyes in pain. Then, he opened them and said, Longao left last night and his whereabouts are unknown. My Long family doesn't know where Longao is. If you don't believe me, 3rd Elder, you can search for him. Long Bai didn't say anything, but his voice had clearly turned cold. No need. Long Bai, you must remember that there is only one ruler of Cloud Island, and that is the Sacred Mountain. If you dare to ignore the Sacred Mountain in the future, I will kill you without mercy. Next time, I won't be so kind. I hope you remember. Let's go. Long Bai's heart was filled with hatred as he watched the 3 people turn and leave. But he couldn't do anything about it. He could only pick up his unconscious son and quickly return to the family. Chapter 565. Seaside. In order to kill Longao, Wanhao had even used his trump card, which was the so-called remnant consciousness of the godly spirit. The power of the unparalleled sword Dao doubled instantly. If Longao did not use the 9 needles sealing spirit, it would be difficult for him to defend against this move. However, Longao was also very worried, because if he used the 9 needles to seal the gods, once he suffered a backlash and the other party was not killed, then he would still be the unlucky one. Just as the sword light was about to slash at him, Longao was about to use the 9 needles sealing spirit to forcefully raise his cultivation state. Suddenly, Longao's body trembled. At this moment, Longao realized in shock that he could not move his body. That's right, he could not move. Just what was going on? What was going on? Longao was completely scared out of his wits. He could not move earlier or later, but at this moment, he could not move at all. Looking at the sword light that was about to slash at him, was he going to be killed just like that? Boom! A loud sound rang out, reverberating through the entire world. Longao felt that his dantian had released a terrifying aura that had never changed since ancient times. It instantly enveloped the heaven and earth. In the midst of this terrifying aura, Wan Hao's sword was instantly swallowed up and disappeared without a trace. Chaos Stone Tablet? Feeling this mysterious and terrifying aura, Wan Hao seemed to have thought of something as his face revealed a look of surprise. Chaos Stone Tablet. Wan Hao obviously knew about the Chaos Stone Tablet. Of course, he knew what it represented. However, at this moment, Wan Hao did not want to fight it head-on. After all, he had all the time. He turned around and prepared to leave. However, at this moment, Wan Hao realized in shock that his body could not move as well. Everything, including the seawater, was still. It was as if the entire world was frozen. Whether it was Longao or Wan Hao, they were completely shocked. Because neither of them knew what was going on. At this moment, everything was frozen, including Longao. It was precisely because of this that Longao was very puzzled. Why had he been frozen? Could it be that his fusion had not been successful? Longao had already tried to fuse with the Chaos Stone Tablet. He had thought that he had succeeded, but the truth was that he hadn't. Otherwise, the Chaos Stone Tablet wouldn't have frozen him in place. A small stone tablet shot out from Longao's body. In the blink of an eye, the stone tablet expanded countless times, and one could not see the end of it. Rumble, rumble. Terrifying sounds resounded throughout the heavens and earth. One after another, the sounds didn't stop. The sky-piercing stone steel suddenly shot out words. Wan Hao's eyes widened as he said in surprise, "The martial skills contained in the primal chaos stone steel! Ha ha!" Upon hearing these words, Longao was greatly astonished. Upon closer inspection, Longao discovered that it was just as Wan Hao had said. At this moment, the primal chaos stone tablet was emitting small characters. It was a profound and unfathomable martial skill. But whether it was Longao or Wan Hao, either of them were able to understand these characters. They couldn't even forcefully remember them. If they tried, their souls would tremble. Whether it was Longao or Wan Hao, either of them dared to continue looking at these so-called characters. Even if their hearts were filled with unwillingness, after all, compared to other things, their lives were simply too important. The primal chaos stone steel had a total of 12 sides. Each primal chaos stone tablet was the strongest divine tool in the world. And within each primal chaos stone tablet was a supreme martial skill. According to what Long Fu had said, as long as one obtained a martial skill from the primal chaos stone tablet, they could become one of the strongest people in the world. Longao, you actually obtained the primal chaos stone tablet. But you have helped me instead. Ha ha ha, if I can obtain the primal chaos stone tablet, I can become the strongest person in the world. From then on, in the heavens and on earth, only I can reign supreme. Idiot. Too lazy to bother with Wan Hao, Longao's soul had already connected to the dragon seal space. He directly asked, "Long Fu, what happened? Why did the primal chaos stone tablet suddenly act like this?" Longao was depressed to the extreme. Originally, he had already merged with the primal chaos stone tablet, and was prepared to work hard to comprehend the martial skill. But who would have thought that something like this would happen? Master, the reason why the primal chaos stone tablet is acting like this, if there is no accident, it should be because there is a heaven-defying treasure in the sea that triggered the primal chaos stone tablet. Master, if you want to obtain this treasure, you can enter the sea. I don't want to die yet. What a joke, entering the sea was equivalent to seeking death. Needless to say, even a divine path martial artist might not dare to enter the sea. After all, the sea was endless and no one knew what was in the sea. Master, don't be impatient. In less than 3 minutes, the primal chaos stone tablet will return to normal. Nodding his head, Longao naturally chose to believe in Long Fu. As expected. 3 minutes later, the primal chaos stone tablet slowly shrank and returned to Longao's body. At this time, Longao and Wang Hao could move at the same time. Longao, hand over the primal chaos stone tablet, and I can spare your life. As he spoke, Wang Hao's body had already shot out. From start to finish, Wang Hao had never imagined that Longao would have a primal chaos stone tablet in his body. Because of this, Wang Hao had already decided that no matter what happened, he had to obtain the primal chaos stone tablet. Longao naturally could not hand over the primal chaos stone tablet. What a joke! The primordial divine dragon had already said that there were 12 primal chaos stone tablets in the world. As long as one could obtain one of them, they could become the strongest martial artist in the world. Longao's fists fiercely smashed out. In the blink of an eye, he had already exchanged 30 rounds with Wang Hao. The two were still evenly matched. Longao, hand over the primal chaos stone tablet and the grudge between us will be written off. How about it? Trash. Longao did not stop at all. Instead, he held his blood-sucking blade and attacked Wang Hao continuously. A dragon's roar resounded. Following that, Long Chang's body suddenly appeared. A man and a dragon working together, it was not as simple as 1 + 1. A dragon warrior? Seeing the sudden appearance of the black dragon, Wang Hao's expression changed. What did a dragon warrior represent? Of course he knew what it represented. A dragon warrior was a combination of man and dragon. Before Wang Hao could react, Longao and Long Chang had already shot out from 2 different directions. One fist, one tail, not giving Wang Hao the slightest chance to react. Gotcha! While Wang Hao and Long Chang were fighting, Longao seized a rare opportunity to directly use his blood-sucking blade to cut off Wang Hao's left arm. If Wang Hao had not dodged quickly, this blade would have been enough to cut off his arm. The Azure Hades sword fell to the ground. Before Wang Hao could react, Longao had already obtained the Azure Hades sword. Longao did not give Wang Hao the slightest chance to catch his breath. Joining forces with Long Chang, they launched their most ferocious attacks. Chapter 566. Wang Hao had already been defeated in this battle. Even though he was unwilling to admit it, Wang Hao knew that he would die if he continued to fight. He didn't dare to stay any longer, so he quickly turned around and left. How could Longao give up this opportunity so easily? He first sent Longao back to the Dragon Seal space, and then chased after Wang Hao. However, Wang Hao was very fast and he disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. Longao clenched his fists tightly, his heart filled with unwillingness. If it was a normal half-saint, then so be it, but Wang Hao's situation was different. No matter what, Wang Hao was still a rebirth cultivator. Once his soul awakened, he would become a divine cultivator. Divine cultivators were the strongest existences in the world. If Wang Hao really did become a divine cultivator, and went to the 9 states to find trouble with him, wouldn't that be like letting a tiger return to the mountains? Longao didn't give up and instead began to search for Wang Hao's whereabouts. After searching for a few hours, he still couldn't find him, so he got up and returned to Cloud City. Long family, Long Heng's residence. Longao had just returned to the Long family when he felt that the atmosphere was quite strange. It seemed like everyone was looking at him differently. What had happened? Longao quickened his pace and entered the courtyard. Just as he opened the door, he saw Long Heng lying on the bed. What happened? Longao's intuition told him that this matter definitely had something to do with the sacred mountain. Master, Patriarch Long, I want to hear the truth. Of course, Longbai wouldn't hide anything. After all, this matter was already known to everyone. Then Longbai told everything that had happened in detail. After listening to everything, Longao didn't become angry or manic as expected. Instead, he was very calm, causing Long Bai and Long Hung to not know what to do. Suddenly, Longao asked, "Are Zhou Dian and the others still in Cloud City?" "Yes, Zhou Dian seems to be waiting for you to appear, so he didn't leave Cloud City and stayed in the Wang family. Wait for me to return." "Master." Before Long Hung could finish calling him master, Long Ao had already left. Long Heng's face was filled with worry as he said helplessly, "Father, let's go and take a look too." Long Bai nodded. Of course he knew what Long Ao had gone to do. He just didn't want to believe it. Zhou Dian was a half-step saint, but what about Long Ao? If Long Ao wanted to fight against the half-step saint with just the strength of a peak great venerable, he was practically courting death. Long Bai knew that his son was completely loyal to Long Ao, so he didn't say anything and quietly left the Long family with Long Heng. Long Heng and Long Bai's intentions were very simple. No matter what, this matter had nothing to do with the Long family. Yun City, Wang family. As one of the three great clans, the Wang clan's strength and resources went without saying. According to the rumors, the Wang clan had a rather good relationship with the sacred mountain. Otherwise, Zhou Dian would not have stayed in the Wang clan. Wang family backyard. Wang Luo, Wang Yi, Zhou Dian, Ouyang Mengchen and the others were chatting happily. Just as Long Bai said, Zhou Dian did not leave Yun City this time mainly because he was waiting for Long Ao. The reason was very simple. Zhou Dian was very confident that as long as Long Ao heard that his disciple had lost an arm, he would definitely not let the matter rest. If he came impulsively, he would definitely not be able to return alive. Third Elder, in the next family tournament, our Wang clan will definitely defeat the Yi and Long families and take first place. Zhou Dian smiled and said, "I think very highly of the Wang clan. I have always believed that Yun City only needs one clan, but there are always people who disagree. But it doesn't matter. As long as the Wang clan develops well and listens to us, we will become the master of Yun City sooner or later." Many thanks. The Wang clan's patriarch, Wang Luo, and their number one expert, Wang Yi, were pleasantly surprised. Because they had managed to climb such a big tree, the future of their clan could be said to be bright. Third Elder, Long Ao may not have the guts to come after you cut off Long Ao's arm this time. No matter what, Long Ao is only a great venerable. Nodding, Zhou Dian said, "I didn't think of this at the time. It seems that Long Ao won't come. I will return to the Holy Land in a little while. Again, develop the clan's strength well and listen to us. Take first place in this family tournament. When the time comes, I will be able to speak for you in the Holy Land. Third Elder, don't worry. I guarantee that nothing will go wrong in this family tournament. Third Elder, if you leave and Long Ao comes back and comes looking for us, how should we deal with him?" Wang Luo's meaning was very simple. He wanted to ask if they should kill Long Ao or hand him over to him when he came. Zhou Dian was a cunning old fox. How could he not understand Wang Luo's meaning? Nodding with appreciation, Zhou Dian smiled and said, "Don't worry about me. If Long Ao really comes looking for us, you can kill him. But remember, his corpse must be hung outside the walls of Cloud City. I want to see just who dares to disobey and ignore the Holy Land in the future. Third Elder, watch us." Whether it was Wang Luo or Zhou Dian, either of them placed Long Ao in their eyes. To be able to fight evenly with Wang Hao meant that Long Ao's strength was infinitely close to that of a world king. Let alone a half-step saint, even a world king could easily kill Long Ao. It was because of this that the Wang clan and Zhou Dian didn't place Long Ao in their eyes. Both sides were looking forward to Long Ao coming to their doorstep. At that time, they would be able to catch a turtle in a jar. Third Elder, I have a presumptuous request. Speak. I hope that Third Elder can stay for a few more days and guide the younger disciples. Third Elder has always been their idol. Since you've come, why don't you guide them? One couldn't help but admit that Wang Luo's flattery was loud enough. Zhou Dian also seemed to enjoy it. He nodded as if he didn't want to. He said, Since that's the case, I'll stay for a few more days and guide them. Wang Luo was overjoyed. His thoughts were simple. He wanted Zhou Dian to stay for a few more days so that he could form a good relationship with him. For the family, this was absolutely beneficial. Zhou Dian trash, hurry up and come out to die. Zhou Dian trash, hurry up and come out to die. Zhou Dian trash, hurry up and come out to die. At this moment, numerous furious roars suddenly sounded from outside, and the voice spread throughout the surroundings. When everyone heard this voice, their expressions changed, and they all looked towards Zhou Dian. Because everyone had already guessed who exactly was the person that furiously roared and insulted Zhou Dian. You're courting death. He doesn't know the difference between life and death. Longao actually dares to come. This time, I'll make it so that he won't be able to return. Senior, rest assured that my Wang clan will handle this matter. Zhou Dian waved his hand, his complexion ugly. After all, he was an elder of a holy land and also a half-step saint martial artist. When had he ever been insulted like this? This was simply unbearable, unbearable, unbearable. Let's go out together. I want to see whether or not this legendary Longao has 3 heads and 6 arms. Chapter 567. Trash Zhou Dian, come out and accept your death. Longao stood at the entrance of the Wang family, exuding a powerful aura that was aggressive and murderous. The news of Longao causing havoc in the Wang family spread everywhere. In a short while, the Wang family was surrounded by people. There were 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside. Everyone had a general understanding of Longao. Being able to fight to a draw with Wang Hao meant that this person was not simple at all. But even so, Longao dared to cause trouble in the Wang family, and called Zhou Dian trash. This was suicide. The more Longao acted like this, the more people wanted to watch the show. They wanted to see what this arrogant young man would do. Looking at the crowd coming out of the Wang family, Longao locked onto an old man. Without a doubt, among the crowd, only this person's aura had reached the so-called half-saint realm. You're Longao? I'm your grandfather and you're my grandson. You lacked calcium since you were young and lacked love when you grew up. Your grandmother doesn't love you and your uncle doesn't love you. Your left cheek deserves a slap and your right cheek deserves a kick. You shameless thing that kicks donkeys and tramples pigs. You were born in the year of the donkey. You deserve a beating. Longao was furious to the extreme because Long Heng's left arm was cut off entirely because of him. Wang Hao. Longao couldn't wait to find Wang Hao and kill him immediately. Because if it weren't for Wang Hao, he wouldn't have left the Long family. If Zhou Dian dared to cause trouble, there would only be one result: tragedy. Longao, you? Longao didn't give the other party any chance to speak. His face was full of coldness and mockery. A man is cheap for a lifetime and a pig is cheap with a knife. Zhou Dian, you actually involved a junior in the grudge between me and the sacred land. You've really embarrassed the sacred land. Oh right. Zhou Dian and the others didn't even have a chance to speak. Longao continued. I almost forgot that the sacred land was originally a nest of shamelessness that raised a group of shameless things like you. Longao's words showed that he didn't care about the sacred land at all. Everyone was stunned when they heard Longao's scolding. They stood there in a daze. They didn't know what gave Longao such great courage. The sacred land, the supreme existence of Cloud Island. Since it became the overlord of Cloud Island, no one had dared to scold the sacred land. Even the 3 overlords of Cloud City, the so-called 3 great clans, didn't dare to do so. Regardless of whether Longao was courting death or not, just this courage alone was worthy of everyone's admiration. Some people secretly gave a thumbs up in their hearts to express their admiration. Longao, I can't help but admire your courage. Do you know the consequences of publicly insulting the Holy Land? Not only was Zhou Dian not angry, he even asked with a smile. Ha ha! Kid, are you out of your mind? Who the F***ck do you think you are? You think you're a saint? Hearing Longao's words, ridicule came from all around. Contempt was written all over their faces, as if they had heard the funniest thing in the world. Longao, what if I don't agree? It's very simple. Not only will you die, but the 3 dogs behind you will also die. Even the sacred land will be in trouble because of your shamelessness and ignorance. Longao's words once again attracted countless mocking laughter. Only Zhou Dian's face was solemn. The more Longao behaved like this, the more Zhou Dian was afraid. Did this person really have something to rely on? Die. Before everyone could react, a shocking aura suddenly erupted from Longao's body. Along with it, the blood-sucking wild blade that suddenly appeared in his hand fiercely hacked out. Zhou Dian and the others dodged, but Ouyang Mengchen and the others suffered. They were instantly obliterated by the shocking blade light, not leaving a single one alive. He killed 5 experts with a single slash, and even brought the number 1 expert of the Wang clan, the only world emperor. What kind of concept was this? No one knew what had just happened. Everyone stared blankly at the scene that had just happened, as if they couldn't believe it. Half-step Saint realm. Half-step Saint? Zhou Dian's voice rang in everyone's ears. Everyone who heard it turned pale with fright. So Longao was a half-step saint. No wonder he could kill 5 experts with a single slash. Zhou Dian and Wang Luo's faces were extremely solemn. No one would have thought that Longao was not a great sovereign, but a genuine half-step saint. Zhou Dian cursed fiercely. If he had known that Longao was a half-step saint, the sacred land would definitely not have sent him to kill him, but to rope him in. Now that the mistake had been made, there was no turning back. Longao, you really hid your strength well. Your mistake is unforgivable. Die. In the distance, Long Heng and Long Bai, who had just arrived, suddenly heard Zhou Dian's words. The 2 of them trembled in fright, thinking that they had misheard. Half-step saint? Longao was actually a half-step saint. Hunger, no matter what happens in the future, you just have to remember one thing. Don't leave your master's side. Long Heng nodded. Long Heng naturally knew what his father meant, because he had never imagined that his master would actually be a half-step saint. The news that Longao was a half-step saint shook Cloud City. A half-step saint was already the strongest cultivator in Cloud City. Everyone felt as if they were dreaming. Longao, so what if you're a half-step saint? Do you really think that you're invincible? Zhou Dian was still confident. No matter what, his opponent was still too young. Longao did not reply. Instead, he answered Zhou Dian with an attack. Longao blamed himself for losing Long Heng's left arm. In Longao's opinion, it was all because of him that his disciple had ended up in such a state. Because of this, Longao had no intention of letting Zhou Dian and the Wang family off. Before Longao came here, he had already thought that he would have to leave Cloud City sooner or later. The grudge between him and Wang Hao had already developed to a point where one of them had to die. He believed that even if he did not deal with Wang Hao would come looking for him. Rather than that, before he left, it was better to suppress the Wang family and completely support the Long family to become the overlord of Cloud Island. Therefore, when Longao had attacked Ouyang Mengchen, he had also killed the Wang family's number 1 expert. This way, as long as the sacred land and Wang Hao did not interfere, the Long family would become the overlord. When Longao slashed out with his bloodthirsty blade, a dragon's roar instantly rang out. Immediately after, the illusory image of a dragon appeared behind Longao. A majestic dragon's aura covered the sky and covered the earth, scaring everyone silly. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.